Marineford is burning. The plaza is shattered. The execution platform is gone, and the air is still ringing with the echoes of a war that shook the world. A white coat billows in the smoke. Justice is written across the back. But it's not Sengoku. It's not Garp. It's Luffy, standing exactly where, in the original timeline, he once crashed in as a pirate and declared war on the world. Here, he isn't wearing a straw hat. There is no Jolly Roger on his back. Instead of that sloppy grin and a promise to become Pirate King, this Luffy raises his hand in a perfect salute, eyes blazing, and screams one word that instantly rewrites the story. Justice. But what if that single moment, that single decision, didn't just change his outfit, it warped the entire era, you know? Because in this timeline, Shanks never leaves the straw hat on his head as a symbol of piracy. Garp's fist and the marine drill yard shape him instead of bandits and Dadan's mountain. You see, the world government's greatest natural enemy is now raised as its strongest soldier. Does that turn him into their ultimate weapon? Or the spark that will burn their flag from within? Think about East Blue. In the original timeline, Luffy sails in on a tiny boat, befriending Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji one by one. But in this timeline, he's a fresh marine recruit, just his coat too big for his shoulders, escorting Kobe on official patrols. Arlong doesn't meet a rogue rubber pirate. He meets a law-bringing fist that doesn't care about bribes or world government neglect. Does Luffy arrest Arlong under orders, or break protocol and liberate Kokoyashi even if it means court-martial? Kuro, Don Krieg, Buggy? Instead of chaotic alliances and accidental friendships, they're stamped into the ground by a rising prodigy whose bounty posters never exist. The East Blue Weak Sea suddenly becomes the testing ground for a marine monster with Gear 2 and Rokushiki drilled into his bones. Now push that forward, Alabasta, but under marine orders. No secret pirate deal with Vivi's crew. Instead, a classified mission stamped by Sengoku himself. Luffy storming rain dinners with a marine squad at his back, clashing with Crocodile not as a reckless outlaw, but as the hand of so-called justice. Does he expose the warlord system from the inside, or become the poster boy that keeps it intact? Eni's lobby becomes even crazier. No, in the original timeline, Luffy punches through the flag of the world government. But in this timeline, he's already inside the system when he learns about Ohara, CP9, and a girl named Nico Robin hunted since childhood. Does he salute that buster call, or rip off the coat and challenge the very symbol he swore to serve? And then we circle back to Marineford. Imagine Luffy not charging the plaza to save Ace as a pirate, but standing on the execution platform as a decorated officer, ordered to ensure the sentence is carried out. What happens when justice and family collide? Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into a full series re-simulation, from Garp's brutal training to Yonko politics to the final war, rebuilt around a Luffy who wears justice on his back instead of a straw hat. Who rises as Pirate King in his place? How long can this Marine Luffy stay loyal before the truth of the world forces him to choose? Here's the kicker. The day the straw hat never existed might be the day the entire world government doomed itself. And this is where our new timeline truly begins. Setting the rules of the Marine Luffy timeline. So before we start throwing marine coats on everyone and rewriting Marineford from scratch, we need rules. Clear lines. This isn't just Luffy joins the Marines LOL. This is a whole new world order, and it all hinges on one brutal moment in the mountains. In the original timeline, Higema humiliates Luffy, Shanks saves him, the bandits vanish, and Garp keeps trying and failing to drag his grandson into the Marines. But what if that mountain bandit incident ends with Garp arriving just in time to see Luffy nearly die, and he snaps? In this timeline, Garp doesn't back off. He succeeds. Luffy still eats the Gomu Gomu no Mi, still becomes rubber, but he is forcibly placed into marine training right after that childhood trauma. That's our exact divergence. Same devil fruit, same lineage, completely different upbringing. From that day on, Luffy grows up under strict marine doctrine, drilling alongside kids like Kobe and Helmeppo instead of chasing treasure with Ace and Sabo. He's learning Rokushiki basics, formation tactics, and justice before he ever learns what a Jolly Roger really means. So what are we actually testing in this what if? First, how does marine discipline reshape Luffy's personality and sense of freedom? Does he become a Kobe-style idealist or a wild cannonball who keeps breaking protocol? Second, if Luffy isn't racing toward Raftel, who steps up as the true Pirate King contender? Is it Blackbeard unchecked, Kid unleashed, or Ace rising without his little brother in his shadow? And third, the biggest one, does Marine Luffy end up protecting the world government or tearing it down from the inside when he learns about Ohara, the Buster Calls, and the Void Century cover-ups? Let's dive into how we're going to explore that. We're moving arc by arc, era by era, tracking this new timeline from East Blue all the way to the Yonko endgame. East Blue first. Arlong, Kuro, Don Krieg, Logetown. Does Luffy arrest them as a good soldier or go rogue to save villages the higher-ups abandoned? And then Alabasta and Enia's lobby. Is he the one sent to hunt down Crocodile and Nico Robin, or the one secretly protecting them from Sakazuki's absolute justice? From there, we hit Marineford and the Yonko era with everything flipped. Imagine Luffy standing on the marine side of the execution platform, staring at Ace in chains. Imagine Wano when the man freeing Samurai from Kaido is wearing a coat that says "Justice" on the back. To keep this focused, we're locking in some canon constants. Devil Fruits work the same. Haki evolves the same. The Void Century, Ohara, Roger's execution, the Celestial Dragons. All of that history stays intact. What changes are the choices. Who Luffy saves, who he arrests, which side characters like Zoro, Nami, Sanji, and Robin swear loyalty to when their paths cross a rubber-bodied marine instead of a smiling pirate. Now, we are going to branch. We'll test an obedient marine Luffy who tries to reform the system from within, and a rebellious marine Luffy who keeps disobeying orders until the world government marks him as a threat. We'll ask, does Ace still die, or does this Luffy reach him first? Does the final war become Marines versus Revolutionaries, or Marines versus Marines? But here's the kicker. Through all those branches, we'll always return to one central, most plausible timeline. One continuous path you can follow from Fuchsia Village to the final clash with Imu. And it all starts with a very different East Blue. Rewinding canon. Who is Luffy without the Straw Hat Dream? And that different East Blue only hits hard if we remember who Luffy is when nothing has been changed. Before we throw a marine coat on him, we need to rewind the tape and lock in his default setting. In the original timeline, Luffy is chaos wrapped in a straw hat. Reckless freedom, absolute loyalty, a walking middle finger to oppression. He doesn't care about politics, rankings, or even strategy half the time. He cares about meat, his friends, and one stupidly simple sentence, "I'm gonna be king of the pirates." That one line instantly turns this goofy rubber kid into a world-shaking threat, because Pirate King means finding the One Piece, reaching Laugh Tale, and inheriting a will the world government is terrified of. Where does that come from? Let's dive into his origin. It starts with Shanks in Fuchsia Village. The man who laughed off bandits, drank with townsfolk, and showed Luffy that being a pirate wasn't about cruelty. It was about freedom and protecting your crew. When Higuma humiliated Shanks, Luffy thought they were cowards. But when that same bandit dragged Luffy out to sea, Shanks lost an arm to save him. That sacrifice, that quiet smile, and that moment where he placed the straw hat on Luffy's head and said, "Return this to me when you've become a great pirate." That's the blueprint of Luffy's entire life. Here's the kicker. Garp was trying to overwrite that blueprint the whole time. This isn't some random what-if. Canon Garp literally tried to raise Luffy as a Marine, dropping him off with Dadan, lecturing him about justice, and losing his mind when Luffy declared he'd be a pirate instead. Garp wanted a hero of the Marines. and Shanks created a successor to Roger. Luffy stood in the middle and chose the sea. And that mountain bandit incident? That's where his hatred of bullies crystallized. Higuma's crew terrorized the bar staff, mocked Shanks, and then tried to kill a kid just because they could. Luffy learned two things. Cowards who abuse power disgust him, and real strength is using power to protect, not dominate. From then on, any form of oppression, be it a celestial dragon, a corrupt marine, or a tyrant like Arlong, puts a target on its back. Fast forward to East Blue. His pirate status isn't just a label, it's a magnet. Zoro only joins because this idiot in a straw hat walks into a marine base, breaks their rules, and frees a condemned bounty hunter without caring about the consequences. Nami is a thief who hates pirates, and yet she gambles on Luffy because he's too stubborn to be owned by Arlong or the Marines. Sanji leaves Baratie because Luffy doesn't demand loyalty through rank. He offers a seat at a table with no hierarchy. You see, the straw hat and the Jolly Roger are more than fashion. That hat marks him as Shanks' chosen successor, and by extension, as someone carrying Roger's will. His flag on the Going Merry, then the Sunny, is a declaration. This crew answers to no kingdom, no world government, no absolute justice. Every island he liberates in East Blue is a reminder that the system can be defied. So when we talk about forcing that same soul into a Marine uniform, we're not tweaking a detail. We're snapping his entire identity in half. What happens when a man born for freedom has to shout justice instead of, "I'm gonna be king of the pirates"? That's the tension that will drive this new timeline. And it starts the moment Garp actually wins. Garp's victory. The exact moment the timeline breaks. And the moment Garp wins? It's not some quiet family talk. It's a kidnapping backed by a legend. We stay in Fuchsia Village, right after the bandit incident. In the original timeline, Garp dumps Luffy onto Dawn and disappears, trusting the mountains to toughen him up. But in this timeline, he looks at the kid who just got kidnapped by bandits and nearly eaten by a Sea King, and snaps. No more bandits. No more freedom training. He grabs Luffy by the collar, throws him over his shoulder, and marches straight to the nearest Marine base. Everyone's staring. A Vice Admiral. He's the hero of the Marines, dragging a crying, yelling kid who's shouting about becoming Pirate King. The local commander hesitates. Vice Admiral Garp, regulations say, but what if regulations don't matter? When the man who traded blows with the Pirate King is glaring at you, Garp slams his fist into the floor, cracks the tiles, and declares Luffy his personal trainee. No one argues after that, and instantly, the timeline veers off a cliff. In the original timeline, Luffy is running wild with Ace and Sabo, stealing food, fighting animals, and learning freedom the hard way. Here, he's waking up at dawn to roll call. Push-ups instead of tree climbing. Target practice instead of treasure hunting. Instead of Dadan's "just don't die," it's instructors barking about justice and duty while he runs laps with weights chained to his legs. You see the difference, right? That raw chaos that shaped Luffy gets caged, then sharpened. He's still Luffy, so he breaks formation, he sneaks food, he challenges adults to spars. But now those adults are Marine officers. He's trading blows with real fighters, getting smacked down by people who know hockey basics, and being punished with more training. By the time he's a young teen, he's already learning the foundations of Rokushiki. Clumsy Soru steps, rough Geppo hops, finger jabs that foreshadow Sharingan. When he finally eats the Gomu Gomu no Mi, it's not a joke. It's a supervised weapon test. Imagine Luffy in a padded arena, instructors measuring his punches, forcing him to control recoil, drilling him to combine rubber with footwork instead of just flailing. That goofy experimentation we love still happens. But now it's inside a regimented lab of combat. By age 17, this Luffy is cleaner, faster, and tactically smarter than the East Blue rookie we know. But here's the kicker. The power comes with a brutal emotional cost. Garp's victory rips him away from Ace and Sabo early. Their secret meetings become rare, stolen nights on the edge of the forest, where a boy in a half-size Marine jacket hugs two wanted delinquents and swears they're still brothers. How long can that last when his lectures say pirates are evil and his heart says Ace is my hero? Every promotion he earns is another step away from the brothers who taught him what freedom feels like. So in the original world, Garp fails, and a pirate era is born. In this world, Garp wins. The uniform goes on, as the training kicks in, but did the world government just strap dynamite to its own headquarters without realizing it? That's the real question, and the answer explodes the moment this Marine Luffy is unleashed on East Blue. A different kind of monster, Marine Training Luffy. Marine Luffy doesn't start as a hero. He starts as a headache. Day 1 in boot camp, he's already in trouble. He breaks formation to chase the smell of the kitchen. He's stealing extra meat, napping on the drill field, and picking fights with anyone bullying the weak recruits. You see, the instructors expect another scared kid. Instead, they get a rubber monster who tanks punches, laughs through punishment, and keeps standing back up. In the original timeline, Luffy learns to fight through chaos, bar brawls, and pirate scraps. In this timeline, that same wild instinct slams into marine structure. He's doing push-ups with cannonballs on his back, running laps with sea stone cuffs, getting smacked by Garp every time he zones out. The result isn't a tamed Luffy, it's a weaponized one. Here's the kicker. Those goofy gum-gum swings, they stop being random. Under live fire drills, instructors scream at him to hit specific targets at specific ranges. Gum-Gum Pistol becomes a calibrated shot that can snipe a rifle out of a pirate's hands from half a ship away. Gum-Gum Bazooka is trained as a breaching tool, aimed at masts, cannons, and hull joints instead of just faces. They run him through scenario training. 1 dummy hostage, 3 hostile targets, limited time. He has to decide who gets hit first, how hard, from what angle. Suddenly, his rubber body is being measured in meters, at angles and timing charts. Luffy still improvises, but now his improvisation is sitting on top of thousands of reps. But what if the real transformation isn't physical at all? On paper, Luffy buys into protect the weak and stop pirates. He loves the idea of stopping guys like Arlong. Then he hears about escort missions for celestial dragons, about nobles getting priority over starving villages. He's told, if a world noble is involved, you obey, no questions. That's where the fuse gets lit. Garp is at the center of this storm. Publicly, he's the demon instructor. Fists of love, brutal training, zero tolerance for disobedience. Privately, when it's just the two of them on some quiet dock, he's saying things like, "Justice isn't a word on your back. It's what you do when no one's watching." He's planting freedom justice right inside Marine HQ. Pattern interrupt. This Luffy learns about hockey before he ever hears the words Grand Line. Under Garp, under instructors who've seen the new world, he gets thrown into blindfold drills, forced to dodge bullets he can't see, punished until he feels intent instead of watching it. Observation. Hockey doesn't awaken in a death match. It starts as a training requirement. Armament comes next. They tell him, some enemies your fists can't touch unless your spirit hardens. He watches veterans coat their hands, break training dummies that should withstand cannon fire, and suddenly he has a new goal. Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd might still come, but they'll be layered on top of hockey foundations built way earlier than Marineford. So now picture it, a Luffy who still laughs, still eats too much, still punches bullies, but with drilled precision, early hockey, and a growing suspicion that the word justice on his coat doesn't mean what the higher-ups say it does. Where does a Marine like that get sent first? Straight into East Blue. And that's where everything really breaks. East Blue. Under surveillance, Luffy's first deployment. So when this Marine-forged Luffy finally leaves basic, he doesn't get some grand flagship or heroic assignment. He gets tossed onto a tiny patrol ship in the weakest sea, under a mid-tier officer who lives and dies by paperwork. This guy's justice is measured in clean reports and perfect chains of command. Luffy's justice? Punch the bad guy, save the crying kid, ask questions later. Instant clash. You see Luffy leaping off the deck to help random fishermen while his superior is screaming about protocol. He forgets to salute, naps through briefings, and then suddenly clears an entire bandit crew by himself because they were bullying a village. On paper, he's a headache. In reality, he's a storm the East Blue has never seen. In the original timeline, Luffy sails into Shell's Town as a pirate, laughing his way toward Zoro's execution stand. But in this timeline, he arrives wearing a marine coat, officially there to resupply and file reports. No grand mission, no destiny speech, just boring bureaucracy. Until he actually sees what's happening under Captain Morgan, the statue, the terrified recruits, Helmeppo waving a gun at civilians, and Zoro, chained up like a monster for refusing to bow to that madness. This isn't justice. This is a marine base rotting from the inside. Luffy's orders are clear. Respect the chain of command, assist Morgan, move on. But what if the man you're supposed to salute is the real criminal? Luffy walks into Morgan's office, hears him brag about executions and tribute from the townsfolk, and you can feel it. That vein-popping anger we saw at Arlong Park in the original story? It's aimed at a fellow Marine now. Here's the kicker. When Morgan orders the Marines to fire on civilians to maintain order, Luffy doesn't hesitate. He punches his own captain. Instantly, the base explodes into chaos. Technically, it's mutiny. A rookie laying out his superior on day one. But as Morgan starts screaming for his loyalists to execute Luffy and Zoro together, the regular grunts finally snap. They've been choking on absolute justice for years. Luffy just gave them permission to breathe. Instead of a pirate raid freeing Zoro, you get an internal revolt. Rifles turned on Morgan, Helmeppo stripped of his fake authority, Zoro watching this straw-hatless idiot in a marine coat break every rule to protect strangers, and realizing this guy's justice feels more real than anything he's seen. Rumors spread instantly. A reckless rookie who decks superior officers, tears down tyrants, and refuses to hide behind paperwork. The brass label him a problem child in the records. East Blue villagers whisper about a crazy Marine who actually listens. And that's just Shell's Town. Because if Luffy is already breaking Marine rules in the weakest sea, what happens when he runs into pirates who are actually right, and orders that are actually wrong? Zoro the Pirate Hunter versus a Luffy the Problem Marine. So when the dust settles in Shell's Town, this is where everything flips. Luffy's not walking away with a pirate flag on his back. He's standing there in a marine coat he just used to punch his own superior in the face. In the original timeline, Luffy crashes into Zoro's life as a grinning idiot who unties a future first mate. But what if, in this timeline, he walks into that courtyard as the problem Marine who just exposed Morgan in front of everyone? Suddenly, the dynamic is completely different. You see the villagers staring, the Marines are whispering, and there, still tied to that post, is the man they call the Pirate Hunter. Zoro's eyes narrow. This guy carries the symbol he hates most, but he just did the thing Zoro respects most. He broke the chain of corrupt authority. And Zoro's whole life has been built on one rule. Your code matters more than your title. So he tests him. Oi, Marine, you gonna finish the job and execute me like your boss wanted? That's the challenge. Would this so-called defender of justice free a criminal if that criminal's honor outweighed a superior's orders? Let's dive into that standoff. Luffy doesn't answer with a speech about justice. He answers with action. He unties Zoro, but he doesn't say, "Join my crew." Instead, here's the kicker. He throws out a deal. "I'm cleaning up East Blue. You help me hunt the real monsters, and I'll make sure you get fair trials instead of back-alley executions. You'll be under my protection, for now." That offer hits Zoro in a very specific way. This isn't some pirate dream about freedom on the seas. This is a Marine saying, "I'll shield you from the system I'm supposed to serve, as long as you don't cross my line." Does Zoro trust Marines? No. Does he trust strength and consistency? Absolutely. So he grins, picks up his swords, and says he'll tag along, temporarily. How long can temporary really last when your fates are this intertwined? Instantly, Zoro's role changes. He doesn't put on a coat. He doesn't salute. He walks beside Luffy as an unofficial right hand, the shadow that does what a clean report can't admit. Luffy arrests Arlong. Zoro's the one who stands between Nami and any Marine who wants to process her as a former accomplice. Luffy brings in Kuro. Zoro's the guy glaring at the paperwork pusher who thinks Kaya's testimony doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, this is already bending Marine protocol into a pretzel. You now have a registered officer operating with a freelance swordsman who answers to no rank chart, only to Luffy's word. How long before the higher-ups notice that every mission report from East Blue has the same unregistered name attached to it? And Zoro's not blind. One night on the ship, he points his sword at Luffy's coat and says, "Enjoy that while you can. A system that protects celestial dragons will make you choose that cloth or your conscience." That warning hangs over the entire timeline like a storm cloud, because when Marineford and the world government finally come into view, which side of the blade does Luffy stand on? Buggy, Orange Town, and the first public image flip. That storm cloud doesn't take long to break. Because the next island this little Marine unit hits is Orange Town. In the original timeline, Orange Town is a wreck because pirates are clashing with pirates. Luffy crashes in, punches a clown, and walks out a hero without even caring about the word justice. But what if the people of Orange Town see white coats instead of a Jolly Roger on the horizon? Suddenly, the town that was terrorized by Buggy now has to ask a new question. Are Marines any better after Captain Morgan? Luffy lands first. No stealth, no formality. Just a rookie with a coat too big for his shoulders, Zoro at his side, and a nervous handful of Marines scrambling to keep up. The villagers peek through cracked doors, whispering about Morgan, about forced labor, about justice that only protected the nobles. So when Luffy yells, "We're here to kick that clown out and give your town back," it doesn't instantly win them over. It just confuses everyone. And then Buggy sees him. Buggy's jaw hits the floor, then twists into rage. This is the brat that Shanks bet his arm on, the kid who laughed on that Fuchsia Village pier. In this timeline, when he spots the Marine coat, he snaps. "You dare wear that in Shanks' name? You betrayed his legacy, straw brat!" Suddenly, their goofy rivalry gets a personal grudge layered on top. It's not just clown versus rubber, it's Shanks' era versus the system that hunted him. Let's dive into the actual fight, because this is where Luffy's Marine training really shows. In the original timeline, he just charges straight in and wrecks the place by accident. Here's the kicker. In this timeline, Luffy's still reckless, but he's learned how to move with the squad. He orders the unit to form a perimeter, has Zoro quietly cut Buggy's cannons. And then he does something only a rubber Marine can do. He literally stretches his body over a cluster of civilians as Buggy fires off a buggy ball, tanking the explosion so the town doesn't. We watch him bounce shrapnel away with his arms, redirect cannonballs into the ocean, and shout at his own Marines when they aim too close to the houses. That's freedom justice in action. Not a slogan, but a kid physically putting his body between power and the powerless. For the first time, Orange Town civilians bow to a Marine because they want to, not because they're afraid. But when the dust settles, the official Marine report hits headquarters and credits everything to Luffy's superior, who strategically directed the operation. Luffy's name is a footnote. Meanwhile, pirate rumor networks go wild. On a rubber Marine who fights like a pirate but wears a coat, a mad dog of justice who laughs in battle and punches captains through buildings, that legend spreads way faster than any sanitized report. Buggy, of course, escapes in the chaos, fragments slipping through alleys and sewers. And as he drifts away on a stolen boat, bleeding and fuming, he doesn't just hate Marines in general anymore. He hates the Marine, Monkey D. Luffy. The seeds are planted right there. When Buggy's status explodes in the new world, what happens when his personal vendetta and the world's fear of that rubber Marine finally collide? Nami's deal with the devil in a white coat. And that's the perfect launch pad, because while Buggy's hatred sails off into the new world, our Marine Luffy is heading straight into the most important East Blue pressure cooker, Arlong Park. In the original timeline, Arlong's deal was with a lazy, corrupt base captain who took a bribe and looked away. In this timeline, it's way worse. After Marineford and the growing Yonko tensions, the higher-ups send down a quiet directive. Do not provoke powerful fishmen crews. Maintain stability in East Blue. On paper, it's strategic. In practice, it becomes a shield Arlong can hide behind while he bleeds Kokoyashi dry. So you get this disgusting balance. Reports come in, villagers disappear, tribute money flows, and every time a decent officer tries to raise hell, the answer from above is the same. Observe only. Do not engage. We can't risk a diplomatic incident. Justice gets reduced to paperwork. Enter Nami. In the original story, Aichi avoids Marines like the plague because they're either useless or dangerous. But what if she hears rumors of one insane rookie who punched a celestial dragon-adjacent noble, mouthed off to a vice admiral, and still walked away grinning? In this timeline, that name is Monkey D. Luffy, the problem child in a white coat. Suddenly, Nami doesn't want to run from the Marines. She wants one specific Marine. She tracks his patrol route, sabotages a few minor pirate crews to get his attention, and when their paths finally cross, she doesn't beg for rescue. She offers a deal. You want real justice? Come see what your stability looks like. Here's the kicker. Luffy's orders are crystal clear. His superior, a cautious captain who's already been slapped down by HQ once, tells him to stand down and just monitor Arlong's territory. No heroics, on no flags raised. We're not starting a war over one village. Luffy's supposed to sit on a ship and take notes. Nami doesn't let him. She drags him into Kokoyashi in disguise, forces him to walk past shattered houses and empty chairs at dinner tables. She makes him watch Genzo's scars, hear Belmir's story, see kids counting blood-stained berries toward 100 million Beely debt. Then she looks him dead in the eye and says, "Tell me this is justice, Marine." You see, this is Luffy's real Marineford, his personal war. The moment where follow orders and protect people finally collide. He snaps. Just like when he put the hat on Nami's head in the original timeline, here he shrugs off his own coat and settles it over her shoulders. Not as a promise from a pirate captain, but as a declaration from a Marine, "I'll shoulder this." Then he walks toward Arlong Park in full uniform, coat billowing, knowing the transponder snails are listening. Unauthorized engagement, direct disobedience, open war on a protected asset. The fight itself? It's a massacre. A trained, Rokushiki-flavored, hockey-butting Luffy bodies Arlong's crew. Fishman karate shatters walls. Luffy shatters the entire tower. When Arlong screams that the Marines will never punish him, Luffy smashes him through his own map room and says, "I'm a Marine. I'm punishing you." Arlong falls. Kokoyashi is free. The villagers cheer the seagull flag for the first time in their lives. But when the report hits HQ, it's not heroic liberation. It's unauthorized engagement with politically sensitive target. Luffy's name goes on a list. Not as a future admiral, but as a dangerous wildcard inside the system. And the next time the world government needs a scapegoat, who do you think they're going to look at first? Sanji, Baratie, and the taste of hypocrisy. And that wild card label follows Luffy straight to the floating restaurant where everything tastes like salt, blood, and hypocrisy. In the original timeline, Baratie is just a loud, goofy pit stop that suddenly turns into a war zone when Don Krieg crashes in. But what if the seagull flag gets there first? In this timeline, Luffy arrives wearing a marine coat, not a straw hat, with official orders. Track Krieg, secure East Blue, and respect Baratie's declared neutrality. As long as it doesn't clash with justice. That's already a contradiction, right? A Marine is supposed to enforce the law everywhere. As pirates are pirates, neutral waters are not. But Zeph's reputation as Red Leg, the ex-pirate who now feeds the entire sea, changes the equation instantly. You see, Baratie isn't just a restaurant. It's a pressure valve for the Grand Line, a place where Marines, bounty hunters, and wanted men all sit at different tables and don't draw steel. Because the old man in the chef's hat says no. So when Krieg's shattered flagship limps in, begging for food, everyone waits to see what the Marine will do. Sanji sees the coat first. To him, Luffy is just another dog of the world government, the kind of guy who'd let starving men die because a poster said so. But then, Luffy does something insane for a soldier. He helps Sanji drag food out to Krieg's crew, and then stands between the restaurant and Krieg's cannons. He draws the line not at hunger, but at harm. If you eat and leave, I don't care about your flag. If you attack this place, I'll sink you. That's his version of justice, moral, not absolute, and Sanji can't look away. Here's the kicker. Just when Baraty's staff and Luffy barely beat Krieg back, a Marine patrol ship shows up, led by a hardline officer who worships Sakazuki's brand of absolute justice. This guy takes one look at the broken pirate fleet, the bullet-riddled restaurant, and the fact that Zeff fed wanted men, and declares Baraty guilty of aiding and abetting pirates. He orders the restaurant seized, Zeff arrested, and Sanji dragged off in chains as a collaborator. So now Luffy's orders clash head-on with his conscience. Does he salute and let them shackle the place that just fought beside him? Or does he become that dangerous wild card HQ warned about? In front of everyone, Luffy plants himself between the Marines and the kitchen and says no. He argues that real justice is feeding the hungry and defending the weak, not punishing cooks for not checking every bounty poster. If the system can't tell the difference, the system's wrong. That speech hits Sanji harder than any kick. By the time the dust settles, HQ can't openly punish Zeff without turning a beloved neutral haven into a martyr. So they compromise. On paper, Sanji becomes Baraty's official Marine liaison, a cook assigned to assist Luffy's unit and ensure proper coordination. In practice, he walks up, lights a cigarette, and tells Luffy, "I'll be your cook, but I'm doing this my way." And with that, Luffy's crew doesn't gain a pirate chef. Now it gains the first outlaw of the kitchen, wearing a Marine badge. But if Baraty can survive justice, what happens when justice hits a desert kingdom run by a warlord? Logtown, where justice meets the Pirate King's shadow. But what happens when that outlaw kitchen unit sails into the town where the Pirate King died? Logtown. In the original timeline, it's the last stop before the Grand Line. In this timeline, it's something else entirely. A fortress, extra patrols on every corner, Den Mushi crackling with reports about a rising rookie era, whispers that the next generation of monsters is about to flood the seas. The brass is nervous, so they send their strangest asset, a rookie Marine with a straw hat, a legendary grandfather, and a talent for making orders evaporate. Luffy walks into Logtown not as a wanted man, but as a low-ranking officer with Sanji at his side, Kobe relaying protocols, and a squad that's already learned one thing. You can't predict this guy. He's supposed to inspect the town, reinforce the local base, track rumors about dangerous rookies. Instead, his eyes lock on the execution platform. Instantly. Like the rest of the world just mutes. You see, in the original timeline, Luffy ends up there with a blade over his neck. But what if he climbs those stairs on his own, as a Marine, drawn by something he can't name? He reaches the top, stands exactly where Gol D. Roger died, and instead of fear, he just grins. The wind hits his coat. The sea roars in the distance, and this so-called soldier of justice feels an insane urge to jump off this platform and chase that horizon forever. His squad is freaking out. Lieutenant Luffy, "Get down! That's sacred!" The crowd stares. A Marine coat billows where a pirate once knelt, and everyone feels the timeline bending. Luffy just laughs and says, "This view is awesome! The sea looks so free from up here." That one word, free, hits the local commander like a cannon. And watching all of this, cigar smoke curling around his face, is Smoker. In the original timeline, he hunts Pirate Luffy. In this timeline, he's staring at a Marine who breaks formation, ignores protocol, but dives headfirst to protect civilians before anyone else moves. Smoker's moral justice recognizes something dangerous here. Is this kid the future of the Marines, or the crack that'll split them open? Here's the kicker. Someone else is watching too. From the shadows of an alley, cloak dripping in the rain, Dragon sees his son in a Marine coat. No chains, no execution. Just that same defiant posture on the same platform. Does he intervene? Does he steal Luffy back from the world government? Or is this the perfect Trojan horse, a ticking time bomb of freedom planted right at the heart of justice? The sky answers before he does. The storm still erupts. Thunder rolls over Logtown just like before. Lightning splits the clouds and slams down, illuminating one chilling image: a white marine coat snapping in the wind, and on the platform, a shadow that looks exactly like a straw hat. Everyone feels it. Smoker. Dragon. The crowd. This isn't the birth of a loyal dog of the world government. This is the moment the system accidentally crowns its own future traitor. Because if Logtown can't tame that urge for freedom, what happens when this Marine walks into a desert kingdom ruled by a warlord and the orders say, "Stand down," while the people scream? Grand Line orders, Luffy, assigned to the Alabasta crisis. So the answer is, you ship him out. Fast. Before that, future traitor energy infects the whole East Blue. Headquarters looks at Luffy's record, defying superiors at Shellstown, wrecking a corrupt Marine base to free Zoro, ignoring protocol at Arlong Park, and they slap a label on his file: Problem Child. Too strong to waste, too wild to trust. And in this timeline, that's exactly why he's sent to the Grand Line early. On paper, it's a promotion, a special deployment to a hot zone. In reality, it's a coin flip between breaking him into obedience or burying him under an impossible mission. The orders are clean and cold. Investigate suspicious activity connected to a group called Baroque Works. Monitor unrest in the Alabasta Kingdom, and above all, preserve stability. You see, stability means protect the crown that pays the heavenly tribute, not save the people dying in the streets. Luffy gets attached to a mixed task force under a stiff, by-the-book commander. Marines, Cypherpol agents, a few smug bureaucrats from the world government. Their official mission is to stabilize the region. Their secret briefing? The one Luffy half sleeps through? Protect world government-aligned royalty at all costs. If things get ugly, the desert can drink the blood of civilians before a single royal hair is touched. In the original timeline, Luffy sails into the Grand Line as a rookie pirate, crashes Whiskey Peak, and then Vivi sneaks around as Miss Wednesday. But in this timeline, she can't afford theatrics. Her country is burning from the inside, Crocodile is worshipped as a hero, and the clock is ticking. So she does the logical thing. She goes to the Marines. Vivi arrives at a Marine base with evidence, maps, Baroque Works code names, and a voice shaking from stress and fury. Instantly, she's swallowed by paperwork, interrogations, waiting rooms, polite smiles that never reach the eyes. The officers listen to her title, not her words. A princess is an asset, a bargaining chip, a symbol, not a person. Pattern interrupt. Because one day, in a hallway lined with justice posters and wanted bounties, she bumps into a tall, messy Marine with a dog-eared cap and a stare that feels way too free for someone in uniform. He doesn't ask for her rank. He asks why she's crying. Let's dive into the clash that changes this arc. Vivi unloads everything: Crocodile, the rebellion, the rain, the dance powder, Baroque Works hiding in plain sight. Luffy doesn't hear Shichibukai and back off. He hears people are suffering and leans in. Here's the kicker. When he brings this to his superiors, they already know Crocodile is involved, and they don't care. Crocodile is a warlord, a pillar in the system, a convenient monster who keeps other pirates in check. The world government would rather let a kingdom tear itself apart than expose one of their own weapons. The hidden directive is simple: maintain Crocodile's status, suppress anything that threatens his usefulness, spin the narrative if needed. So suddenly, Luffy's sense of justice is in direct conflict with his orders. Arrest rebels, protect the palace, Coordinate with Crocodile if necessary. What if the man who hates oppression is told that the oppressor is officially on his side? This is where Marine Luffy snaps the script. He doesn't tear off the coat yet. He doesn't defect yet. Instead, he decides to use the coat against the system that gave it to him. He's not just going to punch a warlord as a pirate this time, he's going to wage war on Crocodile while technically being his ally on paper. Ladies and gentlemen, Alabasta becomes Luffy's first open rebellion, fought under a banner that's supposed to keep him leashed, because if the world wants him to shout justice, he's about to redefine what that word means. Alabasta. Rewritten. When a Marine punches a warlord. So when the Marines land in Alabasta in this timeline, it looks clean on paper. A warlord maintaining order. A kingdom in chaos. A young prodigy officer assigned to observe and not interfere. But what if the one Marine they send is the guy who refuses to look away when people are crying in the streets? In the original timeline, Luffy crashes into Alabasta as a pirate, and Vivi begs a bunch of outlaws to save her home. In this timeline, she's dragged into a tense negotiation room, facing a row of uniforms and Crocodile standing there as the world government's golden boy. And then, she sees it. The way Luffy glares at Crocodile like he already knows something's wrong. You see, Marine training gave Luffy more structure, more intel access, and way more reason to question why a hero warlord is stationed in a country that's mysteriously dying of drought. From there, the Desert March still happens, the Sandora heat, the run-ins with Baroque works, the desperate race to stop the bomb. But every time Luffy throws a punch at one of Crocodile's agents, he's technically attacking an ally of the world government. Every victory is logged as misconduct. Every rescued village is another line on his disciplinary record. And yet, the more he fights, the more Marines he drags along with him, forcing them to see the reality on the ground. Here's the kicker. That splits the Marine ranks. You have career officers who cling to Crocodile because his success props up their promotions and keeps their justice nice and clean on paper. Then you have the Kobe-type rookies and a few grizzled veterans who quietly back Luffy, slipping him intel, turning a blind eye when he disobeys orders, or because they can't deny the bodies piling up in the sand. Which side would you stand on if you were there? When Luffy finally confronts Crocodile in Rain Base and then under Alubarna, the speeches change. He still gets skewered. He still stands back up, blood mixing with sand. But instead of just yelling about friendship and dreams, he's roaring, "You call yourself a warlord of the sea? This is the justice you serve?" He's not just defending Vivi, he's indicting the entire warlord system in front of uniformed witnesses. Every time he rises, he's smashing Crocodile's reputation and the government's credibility at the same time. And because he's dragged Marines into that underground tomb, they all see it. The poisoned water, the bomb plot, the sadistic monologue. In the original timeline, the world government could spin Crocodile's defeat, bury the truth, and keep the warlord program intact. But in this timeline, there are too many eyes, too many reports, too many Den Mushis crackling with live testimony. They're forced to brand Crocodile a traitor publicly, not because they want to, but because they can't erase that many witnesses without starting another Ohara. The political cost is brutal. Luffy returns to base not as a celebrated hero, but as a walking HR nightmare. He's reprimanded, nearly stripped of rank, slapped with a special observation status that flags his file for every Admiral and Cypher Paul spook. He's officially dangerous, to his own side. But on the ground, in Alubarna's streets, in Nanohana's markets, he's the Marine who punched a warlord to save civilians. Parents tell their kids about the officer who chose people over orders. That legend spreads faster than any wanted poster. And suddenly, the world government has a new problem. Their own soldier has become a symbol of a different justice, one they don't fully control. So what happens when that symbol walks into the next powder keg of a kingdom? Robin, Ohara, and the Marine, who listens. That different justice walks straight into Alabasta, ladies and gentlemen. And suddenly, the desert arc you know is running on a totally different engine. In the original timeline, Robin shows up as Miss All Sunday, a pirate riding with Crocodile and casually blowing up ships. But what if, in this timeline, she's something else first? A shadow that keeps appearing on the edges of marine operations, watching Luffy's unit liberate towns Crocodile quietly strangled? She isn't impressed by uniforms. She's measuring hearts. You see, every time Luffy throws away protocol to protect civilians, Robin is there in the distance on a sandstone rooftop, cloak fluttering, eyes narrowing. This is a Marine who punches a warlord, shields kids from crossfire, and argues with higher-ups over collateral damage. That doesn't line up with the monster she expects from the institution that hunted her since childhood. So why is this one different? Their first real collision isn't on a grand battlefield. It's in the dead quiet of Alubarna at night. Luffy senses her with that raw, half-trained observation, vanishes from his patrol, and suddenly Robin is alone in an alley with a vice admiral's grandson in a marine coat. In the original timeline, this is an arrest on sight, but in this timeline, Luffy just tilts his cap back and asks, "Why is someone strong like you working for trash like Crocodile?" That question hits harder than a Gatling. No justice slogan, no "you're under arrest," just a blunt rejection of Crocodile himself. Robin tests him with a lazy smile, asking if he isn't worried about what the higher-ups would say. Luffy shrugs. If they're okay with him hurting people, then they're wrong. Instantly, she realizes this Marine doesn't have blind loyalty. He has his own axis. Here's the kicker. Robin decides to push. She mentions a certain island wiped out by a buster call, an island of scholars labeled demons. She doesn't say Ohara. She doesn't need to. She watches his face when she casually adds, "The Marines called it justice." Luffy freezes. Garp told him stories of buster calls as necessary evils, big cannons pointed at real threats. But an island of books, of people like that nerdy kid Kobe, just erased? What if the symbol on his back isn't just protecting people, but also hiding massacres the world isn't allowed to remember? You can feel the fracture start. The hero image of Marines that Garp, Kobe, and even Sengoku painted starts grinding against this new, ugly possibility. He thinks of his grandfather on those warships, of orders shouted from people he's never met, and it doesn't fit with the way he defines saving everyone. Robin sees all of that in his eyes: fear, anger, refusal. She smiles, not with hope yet, but with recognition. This isn't a dog of the government. This is a storm wearing a uniform. She walks away before the other officers notice. Us choosing not to join him. Not yet. But from that night on, Nico Robin rewrites her own survival plan. If the day comes when the world closes in again, she won't just run from Marines. She might run toward one specific Marine, the only one who listened. And when that day arrives, it's not going to be at Alabasta. It's going to be at the gates of Enia's lobby, where that little seed of doubt is about to explode into open rebellion. Skypiea skipped, the Marine timeline's first casualty, and that brings us to the first real casualty of Marine Luffy's path, Skypiea. In the original timeline, Skypiea is that wild detour that feels like a dream. A knock-up stream, a going merry in the clouds, a golden bell ringing across the sky. It deepens everything. Inherited will, ancient history, Noland's tragedy, as the idea that the world itself remembers. But what if, in this timeline, you never go there at all? You see, Marine Luffy doesn't just drift wherever the log pose points. He doesn't chase crazy rumors about islands in the sky because the vibe feels right. He goes where he's ordered, where the world government has paperwork, ports, and priorities. Suddenly, his route through paradise isn't adventure first. It's strategic value only. Sky islands, unregistered rooties, zero immediate benefit to the celestial dragons, those get pushed to the bottom of the mission stack. Here's the kicker. That means the knock-upstream moment never happens. No random gamble at Jaya, no crazy decision to ride a column of water into the heavens. In this timeline, Luffy's ship is a marine vessel, not the Going Merry, and its logbooks are checked. Its course is signed off. Its commander answers to a vice admiral, not to a talking reindeer and a long-nosed sniper. How do you stumble into miracles when your entire life is filed in triplicate? And this is where the meta hits, ladies and gentlemen. Joining a system doesn't just change your uniform, it robs you of those impossible what-if turns where fate hijacks the story. In the original timeline, Skypiea is Luffy literally punching a self-proclaimed god out of the sky because he hears a 400-year promise ringing in that bell. In this one, he never hears it. The promise is still there. Nolan's legend still exists. The golden bell still hangs over a sea of clouds. Enel still stares at the endless blue and dreams of fairy Verth. But Luffy, he's never the one who lights that fire. So what changes when he doesn't carry that spiritual fuel forward? Without Skypiea, there's no visceral proof to him that the empty parts of the map hide civilizations, histories, and crimes the world government never cataloged. His sense of injustice still exists, but it's less cosmic, less tied to the idea that the sky itself is hiding stolen stories. When he finally clashes with the system, it's going to feel less like avenging the world, and more like avenging people he's met face to face. Let's dive into the consequence. Skipping Skypiea compresses the pacing of this marine timeline. No sky detour means no breather, no goofy cloud adventure between Alabasta and the next nightmare. Instead, the route slams forward. Robin's silent promise at Alabasta doesn't get a whimsical interlude. It leads almost directly into the judiciary machine of Eni's lobby. And without that golden bell echoing in his heart, when Luffy stands before the gates of justice, whose voice is he really hearing? Water 7 from the other side, CP9, blueprints, and betrayal. So when those gates of justice finally loom into view, it isn't a pirate ship cutting through the currents, it's a marine warship. And standing on the prow isn't the straw hat captain we know, but a young officer in a justice coat, wind whipping against that familiar, scarless face. You see, the judiciary machine doesn't just swallow criminals in this timeline, it weaponizes Luffy. Officially, his unit is in Water 7 to assist the local authorities. Shipwright security, high-profile trade hub, all the boring stuff the reports love to dress up. But what if that was just the cover? Because under those stamped orders, there's a quiet directive straight from the higher-ups. Support CP9, secure the Pluton blueprints, and if Nico Robin appears, finish what O'Hara started. In the original timeline, Luffy crashes into Water 7 as a broke pirate captain. Here, he walks the docks as a uniformed enforcer, greeted with stiff salutes and wary eyes. Iceberg meets him not as a client's ally, but as a man being told, with a smile, that the world government is here to help. And instantly, Luffy can feel it. The fear behind the politeness, the way Iceberg glances past him, toward the shadows where masked agents are already moving. Let's dive into that first clash. CP9 doesn't waste time. Rob Lucci and the others operate like ghosts, slipping into Iceberg's office and pressing him for the blueprints with that cold, absolute tone. No warmth, no doubt. Just the quiet promise of disappearance. Luffy watches an interrogation turn into a threat, and something in him rebels. This isn't the kind of justice Garp talked about. This feels like assassination with paperwork. Here's the kicker. Frankie's name is already on their list. In this timeline, there's no goofy money-stealing incident with Usopp. Instead, the Frankie family gets tagged as a criminal scrap ring that might be hiding the plans. A marine crackdown sweeps their hideout. Rank-and-file officers move in hard, clubs and rifles ready to clean up the slums. And Luffy is supposed to lead it. But when he actually sees them, starving ship dismantlers, weirdos, and outcasts just trying to survive off Water 7's leftovers, he snaps. He orders his own men to stand down, takes the hits from CP9's complaints, and tells the Frankie family to run. Everyone around him freezes. A Marine officer just disobeyed the spirit of a world government operation to protect wanted trash. That's when the blueprints stop being theory. Iceberg's terror when Pluton is mentioned, the way he trembles at the idea of a ship that can erase islands, collides with the classified O'Hara files Luffy wasn't supposed to read. What kind of justice needs that? What kind of enemy are they planning to erase? And then Robin appears, not as a crewmate, as the target. Cornered in the alleys of Water 7, CP9 on one side, Marines on the other. She doesn't beg pirates to save her. She steps past Lucci's shoulder, looks Luffy dead in the eyes, and asks one question. "Tell me, I'm Marine. Are you here to kill me again for reading history?" Enies Lobby. A Marine declares war on the world government. Luffy doesn't flinch. You see, this is the moment everything snaps. Not just for Robin, but for a Marine who's been told his whole life that the world government stands for justice. In the original timeline, Enies Lobby is a pirate siege from the outside. But in this timeline, you're watching it from the inside of the machine. Towering gates of justice behind them. The three colossal Buster Call battleships looming on the horizon. The world government flag whipping over the courthouse like an all-seeing eye. Luffy's unit is supposed to be the good guys here. The defenders, the shield. So why does the criminal look more human than the men in suits? Robin answers her own question with her story. And not to pirates huddled on a sea train, but to a ring of stunned Marines in the burning corridors of Enies Lobby. O'Hara. The forbidden research. The scholars who just wanted to read history. You can feel the air leave the room when she says, "Buster Call," and every single rifle in Luffy's squad trembles, because that's supposed to be their ultimate weapon of justice. And yet, it was used on a child. Here's the kicker. That same symbol is flying right above their heads. Luffy hears about the ships that annihilated an island. He hears about a little girl hunted for 20 years by the organization whose coat he wears. And suddenly, Garp's lessons about justice start clashing with Sakazuki's version of justice in his memory. Which one is real? Which one is a lie? CP9 calls Robin a demon, a threat to the world. Lucci turns to Luffy and says, "Hand her over. That's an order from the world government." In the original timeline, this is where Sogeking takes the shot. But what if there is no mask to hide behind? What if the one who breaks the symbol is the very Marine they trained? Luffy doesn't shout to a sniper. He walks forward. Everyone's watching. Marines on the bridge, CP9 on the roof, even the Den Den Mushi broadcasting to the Buster Call ships. Luffy looks up at the massive world government flag, cocks his fist back, and you can almost hear the drums of defiance. Then he roars one sentence that flips the whole story. "If this is your justice, I'll destroy it." His punch rockets upward. The flag doesn't just tear, it explodes into flaming scraps punched to ashes in front of the entire island. Silence. Then chaos. Some Marines drop their rifles, eyes wide. Others instantly aim at Luffy, hands shaking, because attacking the flag is treason. Lucci's voice cuts through the panic. "Straw Hat Luffy is no longer a Marine, he's a traitor." But Luffy doesn't back down. "My justice is protecting my friends, protecting the truth. I don't care about your orders." That's his own brand of freedom justice, declared in the heart of the government's fortress. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the world itself answers. A panicked call, a trembling finger. Somewhere in the command center, a golden Den Den Mushi is activated at the worst possible moment. Buster Call. Those same titanic cannons that erased O'Hara now turn toward Enies Lobby, with Luffy, Robin, CP9, and his own Marines trapped in the crossfire. So what happens when the weapon that made Robin a fugitive is about to erase them all, while Garp's grandson stands dead center between saving his unit, saving Robin, and surviving the justice he just punched in the face? The birth of freedom justice, Luffy's new creed. The Buster Call roars in, the sky is fire, and one thing becomes crystal clear. Whatever justice the Marines believe in, Luffy's isn't that. To understand how wild this is, you have to stack his creed against the Big Four. In the original timeline, we hear about marine justice as a slogan. But here, at Enies Lobby, it becomes a battlefield of ideologies. Akainu's absolute justice says, erase anything that threatens order, even if it means slaughtering civilians, burning Ohara, or nuking an island with your own men still on it. Aokiji's so-called lazy justice is quieter. He'll move when he feels it's necessary, but he won't wreck the world to chase one ship. Kizaru's unclear justice? He just follows orders at light speed, never really telling you what he believes, which is terrifying in its own way. Sengoku's pragmatic justice is the balance point, always calculating the greater good for the world government. But what if a fifth justice suddenly crashes the party? In this timeline, that's Luffy's freedom justice. Luffy doesn't care about doctrines. He cares about people. His justice is simple and insanely dangerous to the system. He'll protect civilians, crush tyrants, and yeah, he'll fight pirates. But the second an order demands he crush innocent lives, silence a voice like Robin's, or burn a library because it asks the wrong questions about history, he rejects it. Instantly. No debates, no paperwork, just a punch to the flag and a declaration that some commands are beneath him. Here's the kicker. That isn't just a tantrum, it's a creed. You see, freedom justice says the law is only valid when it aligns with your gut sense of right and wrong. That's heroic in a shonen way, but for an institution built on obedience, it's a virus. You can see the split on the battlefield. Younger Marines like Kobe and Helmeppo are watching Luffy stand between the Buster Call and a criminalized survivor of Ohara, and they're thinking, isn't that what justice was supposed to be? In the original timeline, Kobe's big moment of conscience happens at Marineford. But in this timeline, the seed gets planted here, at Enies Lobby, as Luffy screams at the cannons in a marine coat. Suddenly, and the dream of being a heroic marine has a face and a name. Meanwhile, the hardliners are horrified. To Akainu loyalists, Luffy is not a prodigy, he's a contagion. If one vice admiral can say no to a Buster Call, what happens when entire units start questioning orders? Freedom justice threatens to turn every marine into an individual moral agent instead of a weapon. And Garp? Ladies and gentlemen, this is where it hurts. He sees Roger in that stance, a man who follows his own will against the world. Except now, that man is inside the Marines, carrying rank, inspiring the next generation, more dangerous than any pirate. So when Enies Lobby goes down in history as the day a Marine punched the world government's flag, it doesn't just foreshadow Marineford as a war against Whitebeard. It sets up Marineford as the collision point, where absolute justice, pragmatic justice, and freedom justice all go to war on the same battlefield. Who fires first in that ideological Marineford? The old guard, or the students of Luffy's freedom? Ace the pirate, Luffy the marine, brothers on a collision course. And if ideas can go to war, what happens when those ideas are born in the same house, eat the same food, and swear the same brotherhood? That's where Luffy and Ace come in. In the original timeline, the three brothers grow up wild on Mount Kalubo, dodging Garp and dreaming of freedom. But what if Garp doesn't let go this time? In this timeline, after one too many "I'm gonna be a pirate" speeches, Garp drags Luffy into structured marine training years earlier, shoving him under instructors who hammer in discipline, hockey basics, and justice before he ever gets a straw hat. Suddenly, the dynamic shifts. Luffy's days are drills, not bandit raids. He's sparring with Kobe and Helmeppo instead of hunting with Ace and Sabo. And Ace? He feels it as betrayal. The one person who was supposed to chase the sea with him has put on the same uniform as the people who hounded Roger, who hunted Ohara, who would wipe out anyone they call criminals. You see, that resentment doesn't make Ace smaller. It makes him burn hotter. Their rare reunions become legends of this timeline. Secret meetings on the edge of Goa, on some random rock near Dawn Island, or years later on a nameless Grand Line port. Ace leans back, smirking, calling Luffy a dog of the Marines. Luffy, still grinning, fires back that he's more free than any pirate because he chooses his own justice. And Ace points at the brand of the world government on Marine flags. Luffy points at the villagers he saved from slavers and corrupt nobles. Both walk away convinced the other just doesn't get it. Let's dive into why Ace still finds Whitebeard. In this story, it's not just admiration, it's escape. Whitebeard isn't Garp, barking orders for the world government. He's a man who says, "You're my son," with no conditions, no lectures about enlistment. For Ace, joining the Whitebeard pirates is stepping out of Garp's shadow and out of Luffy's too, finding a family that accepts the son of Roger as he is. While Ace sails under the skull and crossbones, Luffy is climbing the marine ranks, punching slavers like Arlong and corrupt officers alike, trying to prove justice doesn't have to be cruel. Here's the kicker. Blackbeard still hunts Ace. But that fated clash doesn't vanish just because Luffy wears a coat. Teach wants a throne, and capturing Whitebeard's son is his ticket. Ace falls, is delivered to the Marines, and suddenly, the execution isn't just about the Pirate King's bloodline. It's the perfect propaganda showpiece. Execute the Pirate King's son in front of the world, while the grandson of the hero of the Marines stands on the side of justice. So Sengoku changes one crucial order. He doesn't summon Luffy as a criminal to be blocked at the gate. He summons him as a symbol. At Marineford, when the cameras turn and the world watches, they won't just see Ace in chains. They'll see a righteous Marine, coat billowing, standing over his condemned pirate brother. Will Luffy play that role, or tear the script apart on live broadcast? Marineford rebooted, The War of Blood and Justice. So the broadcast cuts back in, and Marineford is rebooted from frame 1. 3 admirals sit in front of the execution platform, cloaks draped, faces carved out of ice and fire and light. Whitebeard's fleet rises on the horizon, ships like floating fortresses, the sea itself shaking under the power of the Gura Gura no Mi. The Shichibukai line the front, each one a living headline. And then, everyone sees it. Beside Ace's execution stand, there's a lone figure in a white marine coat, justice kanji blazing, straw hat brim pulled low. It's Luffy. But in this timeline, he's not crashing the party. He's part of the stage. In the original timeline, Luffy bursts out of the sky as the chaotic variable the world government couldn't control. But what if, instead, was they'd scripted him into the show? Sengoku doesn't just have an execution, he has a commercial. The transponder snails zoom in as he declares to the world, this is the ideal Marine, the grandson who chose justice over blood, the boy who rejected the pirate dream and embraced duty. You see how twisted that is? Every island watching, every rookie on the Grand Line gets the same message. Ace is the shame of the family, Luffy is the pride. One brother in chains, one brother in uniform. The world government weaponizes their bond as propaganda, turning Luffy into a living rebuke not only to Ace, but to every pirate flag on the horizon. And on Moby Dick's deck, Whitebeard sees it instantly. He doesn't need a commentator to explain. That straw hat, he recognizes the shape, the way it hangs, the way that Kid stands, fists loose but ready. On he sees Garp's blood in Luffy's jawline, Dragon's defiance in the way he refuses to look away from Ace, even with the cameras on him. Whitebeard understands this isn't just a war of cannons anymore. It's emotional warfare. The Marines are saying, right to his face, your son is expendable. Your era is over. Even the Pirate King's legacy stands on our side now. Let's dive into Garp for a second, because here's the kicker. His torment goes to a whole different level. In the original timeline, he watches his grandson fight like hell to save Ace, torn between duty and love. In this timeline, he's watching that same grandson stand on the side of the executioners. Luffy's coat matches his. His rank is the product of Garp's own training. Every punch Luffy ever threw in the name of justice is now being aimed, symbolically, at Ace's neck. Does Garp feel pride? Or does every cheer for hero Garp's prodigy sound like a funeral bell? He doesn't even know which way Luffy will jump. Is this the boy who smashed Arlong to protect the weak, now turned into the blade that cuts his own brother? Or is this the same free spirit, waiting for the exact second to betray the script on the biggest stage in history? The execution time ticks closer. The Den Den Mushi zooms in. We don't see Luffy's eyes yet, just his clenched fist trembling under that white coat. The sword at his side glints. Will he raise it against Ace, or against the symbol of justice painted on his own back? When a Marine refuses to swing, Luffy's first betrayal. The sword rises, the countdown hits 3, and all of Marineford holds its breath. In the original timeline, this is where the executioners move in, and Luffy is just a desperate intruder. But in this timeline, he's the one standing on the platform, white coat billowing, blade in hand, with the Den Den Mushi broadcasting his every twitch to the entire world. Sengoku's voice booms like a verdict. Straw Hat, Captain Luffy. Demonstrate unwavering justice. Swing your blade. He doesn't just want Ace dead. He wants to prove that the world government's brightest Marine will cut down his own brother for the sake of order. You see, this isn't an execution. It's a loyalty test. 2. Luffy's fingers tighten on the hilt. His arm doesn't move. Suddenly, we're not just at Marineford anymore. We're back in Fuchsia Village, Ace shoving a cup into his hands, grinning. We're brothers, right? We're on that cliff with Garp, fists like meteorites. Our yelling that a true Marine crushes all pirates. We're at Eni's lobby, the flag of the world government burning as Luffy screams, "Shoot it down!" And Robin's voice echoes, "I want to live!" Justice without mercy. Is that justice at all? Or is it just cruelty in uniform? 1. Sengoku's eyes narrow. The Admiral's tense. Garp's jaw clenches so hard you can almost hear it over the roar of the sea. This is the grandson he tried to raise in the Marines, the weapon he handed to the institution that destroyed Ohara, that would have wiped out Robin with a buster call, that would have left Kokoyashi under Arlong if not for a rogue interpretation of justice. Here's the kicker. Luffy's not thinking about doctrine. He's thinking about promises, about telling Kobe that true justice means saving people, about swearing to Ace that he'd never let him die alone again, about every island where he disobeyed to protect the weak. 0. The blades come down. But what if the first strike isn't on Ace at all? Luffy moves. Instantly. His sword doesn't swing toward Ace's neck. It slams into the platform itself. Shockwaves explode through the execution stand as if he'd dropped a miniature Gear 3 right into its spine. The stone shatters. Iron chains snap like threads. The whole structure erupts, blasting Ace free in a storm of dust and splinters. For a heartbeat, everyone is frozen. Marines stare, mouths open. The pirates below erupt into a roar that drowns out the cannons. The Den Den Mushi zooms in on the white coat with justice, torn and flapping, on the Marine who just attacked his own platform on global broadcast. Garp doesn't move. His fists are shaking. Is this failure, or proof that his grandson chose his own justice over theirs? Sengoku's face darkens into pure thunder. In an instant, the world government's poster boy has transformed into its greatest traitor, live for the entire world to see. That symbol of absolute order they crafted just declared, with one swing, that their justice is not his. And the battlefield fractures. Some Marines, Kobe, Helmeppo, a few who saw him save civilians instead of chasing bounties, instinctively rush to cover Luffy and Ace, forming a shaky shield wall. Others, especially under Sakazuki's banner, level rifles and cannons at Luffy, screaming for his immediate execution. Admirals weigh their moves, reading a battlefield that suddenly has no script. Whitebeard sees it. The opening that shouldn't exist. As the crack in the fortress that only a wild card like Luffy could create. "Advance!" he bellows, voice booming over the chaos as his forces surge forward. And now the question isn't just who survives Marineford. It's this: when Luffy betrays the Marines on the grandest stage in history, Who dares stand beside him next? Battle Resim, Admirals versus the Rogue Marine. And in the middle of that chaos, the battlefield does something Marineford never does. It hesitates. Pirates surge forward with Whitebeard's roar, but the first body that slams into the Admiral line wears a marine coat. Luffy rockets in, fist cocked, and smashes straight into Kizaru's light kick that was about to vaporize a group of retreating pirates and panicked low-rank Marines. Light and rubber collide, as the shockwave ripping tiles apart as everyone just stops and stares. What if the world government's own prodigy is now the shield for the very criminals they're trying to execute? In the original timeline, Kizaru toys with the pirates, sniping escape routes like it's a game. But in this timeline, every time a beam of light flashes toward an escaping ship, Luffy is there, stretching across the plaza, arms widening like a living barricade. Cannon fire rains down from marine ships, and he slingshots himself into the air, using his rubber body to absorb and ricochet shells back into the bay, blowing up empty water or uncrewed vessels instead of helpless allies and enemies. You see commanders like Jozu and Vista glancing up, instantly realizing this rogue marine is rewriting the rules of engagement in real time. And then the alliances get really messy. Ace breaks his chains, flames roaring, and the first back he covers is Luffy's. Whitebeard's commanders close ranks around them, while Kobe and Helmeppo skid to a stop at the edge of the crater Luffy just made. Do they arrest him? Do they assist him? Their hands shake on their swords as they watch a fellow Marine stand shoulder to shoulder with the world's most wanted men. Here's the kicker. The admirals don't hesitate. Akainu sees Luffy as the ultimate proof that soft justice is a disease. He bellows across the plaza that this is what happens when you let Garp and Kuzan poison the institution. He vows, on the spot, that he'll personally execute Luffy and Ace together to cleanse Marineford. Aokiji, though, he freezes a path straight toward Luffy, clashes with him in a storm of frost and steam. And in Luffy's furious eyes, he sees Saul, he sees Ohara, he sees another person refusing to bow to a twisted order. Let's dive into Whitebeard's perspective for a second. In the original timeline, he sees Luffy as a reckless kid with guts. But what if that same kid is a Marine who just betrayed everything for his brother? Whitebeard suddenly recognizes a symbol, a chance for a new kind of world where justice and freedom aren't enemies. He deliberately shifts his tactics, tanking hits he would have dodged, forcing his failing body to create openings so Luffy can move, even if it shaves years, no, minutes, off his already broken lifespan. And then we reach the nightmare crossroads. Amid shattered ice and molten craters, Akainu corners both brothers at once. Ace is winded, Luffy's coat is in tatters. Chi and magma drips from Sakazuki's fist like the executioner's blade of the age. In the original timeline, only Ace stands between that fist and Luffy. But in this timeline, they stand together, both ready to shield the other, both refusing to run. So when that magma fist comes down, who pays the price this time? And how many lives does their choice set on fire next? Ace's fate in the Marine Luffy timeline. That magma fist crashes down. Time slows. You can almost hear the drums of liberation go silent for a heartbeat. In the original timeline, Ace turns, smiles, and takes that blow for Luffy. But what if this time, the one who moves is the hero of the Marines himself? For a split second, Ace hesitates. Luffy refuses to back down. Akainu's fist is inches away, and then suddenly, Garp is there. As the old man rips his chains apart with sheer haki and rage, blitzing the distance so fast that even Kizaru's light looks late to the party. He doesn't hesitate, he doesn't lecture, he just slams his own body between Akainu and his grandson's. The impact is disgusting. Magma sears through muscle and bone, Garp's justice coat burns away, and the shockwave sends Luffy and Ace flying out of the kill zone. In this timeline, the symbol of Marine heroism is the one bleeding out on the battlefield, not Whitebeard, and everyone watching the broadcast sees it. Here's the kicker. Garp finally chooses family over duty, and it's not quiet, it's not hidden, it's live. Ace scrambles back, shaking, watching Garp's back literally melt as he holds Akainu down for a few precious seconds. Luffy is screaming, trying to rush in again. But the surrounding Marines, Kobe, Helmeppo, even random grunts who grew up idolizing Garp, form an accidental shield, yelling at Luffy to run while they process that their legend just attacked an admiral. You see, Marineford has just shifted from an execution to a mutiny of the heart. Emotionally, this breaks Ace in a way death never did. The man who said he was fine dying for pride now sees Luffy shattered, Garp crumpled, and realizes that his death wouldn't be noble here. It would just make their sacrifices meaningless. He grabs Luffy, snarls that he's not dying on this scaffold, and vows, right there amid the flames, to live in a way that honors both the idiot kid who stormed Marineford and the grandfather who bled to stop it. Politically, this is a disaster for the world government. And they failed to execute the Pirate King's son on live broadcast. Crocodile has publicly turned his fangs on them, and now their brightest hero has just attacked the future fleet admiral in full view of the world. That's not just a failed operation, that's a narrative collapse. People in the East Blue, Alabasta, even Water 7 are asking, if Garp is willing to punch a Kainu to save a condemned man, what does that say about absolute justice? Luffy's own fate twists with that question. His betrayal is undeniable. His marine coat is soaked in his grandfather's blood. Garp survives, barely, but the wound isn't just physical. It severs Luffy's bond with the uniform for good. He walks away from the Marines not to chase the Pirate King title, but with a new mission, to tear down every part of the system that made Marineford possible in the first place. And that means the real war for this timeline hasn't ended at Marineford. It's only just begun. Sengoku, Garp, and the cost of raising a monster. And the moment Luffy walks away, Marineford doesn't calm down. It curdles. Because if the world government's future hero can flip the table on live broadcast, what does that say about the people running the show? Sengoku is the first one forced to stare that question in the face. And he hates the answer. In the original timeline, Sengoku could blame pirates, Whitebeard, even Shanks for how Marineford changed. But in this timeline, the weapon that malfunctioned was his own project, Marine Luffy, the kid he let Garp vouch for. The symbol he allowed to run wild because Garp will handle him. Now that symbol has turned into a walking indictment of his leadership. You see, to Sengoku, Luffy isn't just a traitor, he's proof the system is leaking. So what does he do? He clamps down. Instantly. Recruit training is overhauled. No more Kobe-style dreaming about being a hero of justice. It's indoctrination, absolute loyalty. Celestial Dragon first, Citizen second, any recruit who starts asking the kind of questions Luffy asked at Marineford. They're flagged, reassigned, or quietly disappeared into Cipher Pole re-education. Sengoku tells himself this is how you prevent another Luffy. Another variable, another embarrassment. But what if the man who knows Luffy best refuses to play along? Cut to Garp, bedridden, bandaged, but still glaring at the ceiling like he wants to punch the sky itself. Sengoku visits, expecting an apology, or at least shared outrage. Instead, he gets a verbal fist to the face. Garp doesn't condemn Luffy. He condemns the room that ordered him to stand still. He straight up tells Sengoku, if the Marines can't handle a man who protects people, even when those people are enemies of the state, then the Marines are what's broken. That's the real betrayal. Not Luffy leaving the uniform, but the uniform abandoning its purpose. Here's the kicker. This is where their ideologies finally snap apart. Sengoku, the Buddha of the battlefield, clings to structure. He believes the Marines exist to be the shield of the celestial dragons, because without that pillar, the entire world order collapses into chaos. Garp laughs at that. To him, as true Marines are supposed to be the shield of the weak, even if that means standing between a screaming noble and the slave they're kicking. So while they're arguing about justice, Sengoku is already making a darker move. Behind closed doors, he calls CP0. Luffy is reclassified as an existential threat to the regime. Not just a rogue officer, but a priority target ranked above most Yonko commanders. Orders are clear. If Nika's drums ever echo at sea again, CP0 doesn't wait for Marine approval. They erase him. And Garp feels that shift, so he starts his own quiet rebellion. No speeches, no banners, just late-night talks with Koby, Helmeppo, and every young Marine who still has stars in their eyes. He teaches them to question orders, to protect villages like Kokoyasi even when HQ looks away. He's planting time bombs of conscience inside the system. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, Garp's final legacy isn't one Luffy. It's an entire generation ready to explode. So when those seeds finally sprout, whose version of justice will the next era follow? Koby, Smoker, and the rise of rebellious Marines, and the first one to explode is Koby. On that shattered plaza of Marineford, when Marine Luffy throws himself between Akainu and fleeing pirates, everyone sees a reckless rookie. Koby sees something else. He sees a Marine who's willing to risk execution, not to win a war, but to stop pointless slaughter. In the original timeline, Koby's legs shake when he steps in front of Akainu. In this timeline, they're still shaking. But he moves anyway, because Luffy already did. You see, on that one moment rewrites Koby's entire idea of courage. It's not just charging into battle, it's raising your voice when every instinct tells you to shut up. So when the gunfire keeps echoing even after Ace is gone and Whitebeard has fallen, Koby doesn't just whisper, he screams. He plants his feet, throws his arms wide, and yells at the entire battlefield to stop. But what if he wasn't alone this time? Luffy's stand has already infected the ranks. A few younger Marines who watched him shield civilians from stray magma, who saw him drag wounded enemies into the medic tents, suddenly step forward behind Koby. Helmeppo, a couple of nameless ensigns, one vice admiral who remembers Ohara and has had enough. It's tiny compared to the whole army, but visually, it's a crack in absolute justice, right in front of Sakazuki. Akainu still swings. He's still a monster. But when Shanks arrives to end the war, that line of Marines between Sakazuki and the retreating pirates tells the world that something has changed inside HQ. Justice is no longer a single voice, and watching all of this from the smoke-choked sky? Smoker. Let's dive into him, because this is where things get dangerous for the world government. Smoker was already disgusted by the warlord system and the way Crocodile preyed on Alabasta while the government looked away. In this timeline, he's been tracking Marine Luffy's career. Kokoyasi liberated off the books, civilians evacuated before Buster calls, orders misinterpreted whenever they'd cause unnecessary casualties. At Marineford, he finally sees the pattern. The problem isn't just pirates, it's the priorities of the people issuing the orders. But here's the kicker. Instead of writing Luffy off as a naive idealist, Smoker treats him like evidence, proof that a different kind of Marine can exist and still win. So after the war, while Akainu and the elders tighten their grip, a quiet, rebellious current starts flowing underneath. Koby, Smoker, Tashigi, a few scattered captains and instructors Luffy inspired during training. They start talking. Not in big dramatic meetings, but in mess halls, on Den Den Mushi, in the gaps between missions. They trade intel. They accidentally get assigned to the same regions. And whenever HQ sends them to make an example of some island, they reinterpret justice in a very Luffy way. They protect civilians first. They leak routes so innocent ships can escape blockades. As they arrest corrupt nobles and blame pirate interference. It's not a formal faction yet, but it's a reformist network, a hidden timeline inside the Marines where freedom justice is quietly spreading. So here's the question. Ladies and gentlemen, if enough Marines start thinking like Luffy, does the organization evolve into something new? Or does the world government slam down so hard that we're headed for an open Marine civil war? Yonko era without Straw Hat Luffy, who fills the vacuum? And while that hidden Marine faction is quietly spreading, The seas themselves are mutating into something way darker. Because if Luffy never puts on the straw hat, who actually fills the power vacuum he leaves behind in the new world? In the original timeline, you see Luffy's chaos is like a wrecking ball that smashes through Paradise and into the Yonko era. He wipes out Crocodile, topples Enies Lobby, humiliates Big Mom's forces, and then walks into Wano to help dethrone Kaido. In this timeline, none of that happens. No Straw Hat crew rampaging through Paradise. No idiot captain declaring war on the world government at Enies Lobby. No direct challenge to Big Mom at Whole Cake. No rooftop showdown with Kaido. And crucially, no Law-Luffy alliance to crush Doflamingo and blow up the underworld. So what does that mean? It means the board is way more stable and way more terrifying. Dressrosa never falls, so Doflamingo keeps his throne as Joker, the linchpin of black market smile production. Kaido's artificial Zoan army grows without interruption. Big Mom never loses face or territory to a rookie. And the world government doesn't get that early warning sign that these upstarts can actually dethrone emperors. Here's the kicker. The ones who benefit first aren't the Yonko. It's the next generation. With no Straw Hats stealing headlines, kids' rampages stand out more, Law's surgical strikes hit harder, and every victory they score echoes louder. Kid can push his luck against Big Mom's territory longer before getting checked, because there's no Luffy to crash her tea party and trigger a full-scale crisis. Law has more room to maneuver in the shadows, using his warlord status to carve out safe zones and quietly undermine Kaido instead of betting everything on one Dressrosa gamble. But the true winner of this vacuum? Blackbeard. In the original timeline, Luffy keeps colliding with Teach's plans. But from Impel Down to Marineford, to the race for ancient weapons and road poneglyphs. In this timeline, Teach moves almost completely in the dark. No early clashes, no Straw Hat interference. He can raid more prisons, hunt more devil fruits, and snatch up abandoned Whitebeard territories before anyone really understands how dangerous he is. By the time the world notices, Blackbeard isn't an upstart Yonko. He's a full-blown calamity. Pattern interrupt. What if the inherited will of the sea doesn't belong to some smiling rubber pirate at all? That role starts drifting toward Trafalgar Law. He still carries the will of D, still hates the celestial dragons, still bears the scars of Flevant's and Corazon's sacrifice. Without Luffy to act as the bright, reckless embodiment of freedom, Law becomes the dark mirror of what Luffy might have been as a pirate, a strategist instead of a brawler, a surgeon instead of a storm, but driven by the same instinct to tear down the gods sitting on top of the world. And that's where Marine Luffy snaps the chessboard in half. Instead of being the pirate who shakes the Yonko, he becomes the marine wildcard that shakes the world government. Every time Akainu wants to deploy Marines as Yonko attack dogs, Luffy is there, redirecting operations, saving islands, ruining clean, absolute justice plays. Suddenly, it's not a simple two-sided war anymore. It's a three-way tension, Yonko consolidating, Blackbeard accelerating, and a reformed marine faction quietly pulling power away from the celestial dragons. So when the final clash comes, who's really the enemy? The emperors? Or the government? Or the system itself? Dressrosa without straw hats, Doflamingo's reign and fall. And that question slams us straight into Dressrosa. Because if the real enemy is the system, what happens when one of its authorized monsters, Don Quixote Doflamingo, is allowed to run a kingdom like his personal playground? In the original timeline, Dressrosa only explodes because Luffy, Law, and a last-second alliance crash the party. But what if that Straw Hat spark never exists, and Luffy walks this island wearing a marine coat instead? In this timeline, Doflamingo is eating good. No Straw Hat-led rebellion. No gladiator captain secretly rallying behind a rubber upstart. His smile factory runs on schedule, feeding Kaido's army with artificial zoans, strengthening the Yonko system with every shipment. Toys still cry in the shadows. And King Riku's name is still buried under propaganda. And the world government? They're just happy their warlord is keeping one of the 4 emperors satisfied. You see, this is the nightmare version of stability. Kaido's crews get stronger, the black market thrives, and Dressrosa becomes the model case study for why the warlord system is a cancer. Reports start leaking out. A kingdom under a warlord's thumb. Vanished citizens. Smiles on the surface, screams underneath. To the higher-ups, it's background noise. To reformist Marines like Smoker and Kobe, it's Alabasta all over again. Smoker, who already watched Crocodile nearly hijack a nation, looks at these Dressrosa intel files and goes, "We've seen this movie before." Kobe, who heard Luffy's words at Marineford and chose a different kind of justice, suddenly can't ignore it. Or they start whispering to the rogue faction. If they don't move, another country dies in slow motion. And that's where Luffy hits a crossroads. He's not a happy little recruit anymore. He's a rogue marine with a following, sailing outside formal command, already on thin ice for attacking one warlord too many. Dressrosa becomes a test. Does he strike at Doflamingo and fully accept being branded a criminal forever? Or does he back down and let justice look the other way? Here's the kicker. Law still hates Doflamingo. That trauma doesn't vanish just because the Straw Hats never form. But instead of hunting for a pirate ally, he hunts for a wild card in a marine coat. Law approaches Luffy not with a pirate alliance proposal, but with a co-conspiracy. A joint operation that weaponizes marine authority and pirate freedom at the same time. Imagine it. Law offers intel on the Smile Factory, the underground port, the birdcage potential. Luffy brings disillusioned Marines, Smoker's intel, Kobe's moral conviction. The plan? Trigger a Dressrosa incident, so undeniable that even the world government can't quietly sweep it away. But what if they succeed? If Marine-turned-rebel Luffy helps topple Doflamingo here, he doesn't just free a kingdom. He rips out another pillar of the warlord system years ahead of schedule, accelerates its collapse, and forces the government to treat him not as a wayward soldier, but as an existential threat. And once you sever that pillar early, the shockwaves hit everywhere. Kaido, the revolutionaries, even Mary Joas itself. Robin's second chance. Investigating O'Hara from within. Those shockwaves don't just hit Yonko territory, but they echo all the way back to a quiet woman who's been watching Marine Luffy from the shadows since Eni's lobby. Nico Robin, the devil child of O'Hara, the survivor of the government's greatest academic massacre. In the original timeline, Robin gambles everything on a pirate captain with a straw hat and a stupid smile. But in this timeline, she's staring at a man who wears a marine coat, defied a buster call, and then openly broke with the world government at Marineford. What if the safest place for the world's most hunted archaeologist is behind the back of the marine who betrayed the system for his brother? After Marineford, after Dressrosa, after watching Luffy punch through warlords and secret CP networks, Robin finally makes her move. She doesn't just travel with him. She joins him, fully. No more escape plans. No more half measures. She sits across from him in a dimly lit room on a stolen marine battleship and says, "If you really want to change this world, then you need to know what they did to O'Hara." Let's dive into the investigation that follows. Using Luffy's new rebel faction status, they raid branch bases for sealed archives, swipe Cypherpol courier logs, and tap into Garp's old connections. Retired vice admirals, washed-up intel officers, even Kuzan's off-the-record memories. Robin brings her lifetime of running from the truth. Luffy brings the terrifying freedom of not caring who he offends anymore. Piece by piece, they reconstruct the buster call that erased O'Hara. Robin traces the authorization chain. Local reports to Spandine, Cypherpol to the Marines, admirals to Fleet Admiral to nothing. A blank. On a redacted block where the Gorosei's orders should be. Here's the kicker. Every official report paints the scholars as demons plotting the world's destruction. But the timestamps, the ship movements, the evacuation lists, when Robin lines them up, everyone can see it was a pre-planned extermination of knowledge. Luffy reads falsified casualty numbers. He sees no civilians present, stamped over the island where Robin watched her mother die. He sees Sakazuki's name attached to the evacuation fleet, and then sees those records quietly buried, blame shifted downwards, Gorosei involvement erased. Any lingering faith he had in the top brass? Instantly shattered. And then Robin goes deeper. She pulls out fragmented poneglyph rubbings, notes from Clover's final research, whispers about a figure from the Void Century. Joy Boy, as a promise breaker who tried to free the world and failed. She connects that to Goldie Rogers' smile at his execution, to Garp's grandson, whose name carries the same initial, to the drums of liberation that witnesses swear they heard when Luffy went all out at Marineford. What if the Will of D isn't just a bloodline, but a recurring role in history, a job the world keeps handing to reckless idiots who laugh in the face of gods? Robin lays it out. Ancient prophecies of a liberator who would bring dawn, topple false gods, and end an 800-year night. In this timeline, Luffy thought his dream was to reform the Marines, to turn justice into freedom. Now he realizes that's only step one. As long as the Celestial Dragons and the Gorosei sit above the law, any good Marines are just bandages on a festering wound. So what does a man like Luffy do when he understands he isn't just a rogue officer? He's the next Joy Boy candidate? Does he aim to fix the system or burn down the throne that created it? Because the next move he makes is going to drag the entire world into his answer. The warlord system crumbles. Marine Luffy's unintended revolution. And the first place that answer hits isn't the Gorosei. It's the Shichibukai. In the original timeline, Crocodile's downfall at Alabasta was a pirate Luffy scandal. The world government could shrug and say, rogue elements, pirate chaos, handled internally. But what if, in this timeline, it's a decorated young Marine captain leading the charge, exposing a warlord on live transponder snails? Suddenly, Crocodile isn't just a criminal. He's a government-sponsored tyrant, a stamped with justice. You see, Alabasta's royal family doesn't quietly cover it up this time. Cobra stands at a podium, Vivi at his side, and states it clearly. A Marine saved their kingdom from a warlord the world government empowered. The optics are brutal. Every paper runs the same headline in different words. Can we trust the Shichibukai system? Meanwhile, Luffy's freedom justice looks cleaner than any official doctrine. Then Thriller Bark hits. Moria is technically still a warlord, but after Marine Luffy crashes the island, frees hundreds of shadowless victims, and forces Moria into retreat, the guy is a walking embarrassment. A warlord who loses to his own side's soldier? That's not balance against the Yonko. That's dead weight. The public starts asking, if a single captain can dismantle two warlords, why are these pirates getting government protection at all? Here's the kicker. Every victory that should strengthen Marine authority instead widens the crack. Inside Marine HQ, the debates get vicious. Sengoku, Kuzan, Smoker, and a rising Kobe form this quiet reformist bloc, arguing that relying on pirates as dogs on a leash corrupts everything the uniform is supposed to mean. Across the table, Sakazuki and the hardliners slam their fists and shout that without the Shichibukai, the Yonko will run wild and Marineford will look like a warm-up. And then Dressrosa. In the original timeline, Doflamingo's fall was a pirate-led disaster. But in this timeline, it's worse for the government. Luffy, now a Vice Admiral-level monster, marches into Dressrosa under classified orders to assist, and then publicly disobeys those orders to topple Doffy anyway. Toys turn back into people. Slaves, gladiators, kings from allied nations all see the same thing. A warlord ruling a kingdom like a mafia godfather while the world government looked the other way. Pattern interrupt. Imagine the reverie room when Dressrosa and Alabasta walk in together. Cobra, Riku, Vivi, Rebecca, even King Neptune from Fishman Island all testify. They don't just condemn the warlords, they praise one specific Marine by name. That boy, Luffy. He defied orders to save our people. Over and over, the narrative repeats. titles lied, individuals told the truth. The Shichibukai system isn't a shield, it's a mask. In this timeline, the vote to abolish the warlords doesn't come after Fujitora's gamble years later. It slams through at this reverie. As the pressure is overwhelming, the Celestial Dragon's furious, the Gorosei cornered, and at the center of every speech, every leaked transcript, every whispered rumor, is Marine Luffy, the catalyst, the walking contradiction. So what happens when the government's own hero proves their grand strategy was a mistake? When justice itself starts quoting a rubber-brained captain as its example? The answer pushes the Marines into their most dangerous upgrade yet, and sets up Luffy's next, even bigger betrayal of the system. Akainu's counterattack. Absolute justice strikes back, and the one person who refuses to upgrade quietly is Sakazuki. In the original timeline, Akainu's rise to Fleet Admiral is already terrifying, but in this timeline, he doesn't just win a political debate after Marineford, he weaponizes Luffy's betrayal as his trump card. The war was chaos, the warlords walked, the world is shaking, and the hero the people trusted, Marine Luffy, walked off the execution platform with Ace. What stronger proof, he argues, that justice has gone soft? So the promotion hearings turn into a witch trial. Sengoku's balanced justice is put on blast. Kuzan's hesitation is replayed. Every scene of Luffy defying orders is clipped, replayed, and pushed through the papers. You see, Sakazuki doesn't just say, "Make me Fleet Admiral." He says, "Make me the firewall between humanity and another Luffy." And the elders listen. Once he has the coat, the real story begins. Quietly at first. Vice admirals who quoted Luffy's speeches, reassigned to brutal front lines. Are rear admirals who questioned the Ohara cover-up or the warlord system? Shuffled to dead-end posts in calm belt backwaters. Kobe's generation of idealists suddenly find their mentors transferred. Their units merged with hardliners who preach absolute justice like a religion. But what if the purge wasn't just inside the Marines? Let's dive into the Shadow War. Sakazuki leans on Cypher Pole in a way Sengoku never dared. CP0 is unleashed not just on pirates and kingdoms, but on ideological threats. Secret salons in Marineford where officers talk about freedom justice, raided, revolutionary sympathizers in the academy, vanish overnight, and at the very top of every CP0 kill list, above Dragon, above any Yonko, is the name Monkey D. Luffy. Here's the kicker. The propaganda machine turns on instantly. In the original timeline, Luffy is the reckless pirate who crashes Marineford. In this timeline, he's painted as something much worse. A traitor who infiltrated the Marines, manipulated civilians and soldiers alike, and then stabbed justice in the back at the moment of truth. Every island that riots because the warlord system collapsed, blamed on the Luffy incident. Every pirate coalition that rises in the New World, inspired by the Marine who betrayed his oath. Sakazuki doesn't just hate Luffy as a criminal, he hates him as a contradiction. At Marineford, a rookie with a sea-stone collar and a bleeding body forced the battlefield itself to move around his will. That scar on Akainu's chest? In this timeline, it's not just Whitebeard's quake. It's the memory of being defied by a boy in a marine coat who made admirals hesitate. As killing Luffy isn't just cleaning up a mess, it's proof that absolute justice was right all along. And as the years pass, the threat grows more explicit. Rumors start leaking from Navy HQ, a new protocol, a mobile buster call. Not for Ohara-style scholars this time, but for any nation, any island, any scrap of sea that dares to harbor Luffy or his allies. Imagine Eni's lobby signal, but tied to Luffy's bounty poster. One sighting, one confirmed shelter, annihilation. So when the Den Den Mushi crackles in some quiet harbor and a nervous marine whispers, "HQ has flagged this island Luffy positive," you know what's coming. The question is, when that upgraded buster call finally drops, Whose justice will the world follow? The man with the fleet admiral's cap, or the runaway Marine who refuses to bow? A final war setup, Marines versus world government versus everyone else. That's the moment the world splits into three. Because when HQ flags an island Luffy positive, it's not just a manhunt anymore. It's a stress test for the entire system. Who shows up? Which flag do they sail under? And whose justice do they scream when the smoke clears? In the original timeline, the final war is Marines and world government on one side, and everyone else on the other. But what if this time, the board is way messier? In this timeline, you've got three massive forces taking shape, all because one rubber Marine refused to shut up and salute. First, the Old Guard, the world government and Akainu's loyalist Marines. These are the guys who double down after the first Luffy incidents. CP0, Seraphim, God's Knights, SSG, as an admiral-led buster call becoming a regular thing. Akainu wraps himself in absolute justice. The Gorosei whisper about Imu, and together they try to fuse the Marines into a single obedient blade. No more Garp, no more Kuzan. Just weapons. Second, the defect line inside the Marines themselves. Smoker, who watched Luffy free Alabasta and Punk Hazard while the government lied about it. Kobe, who remembers Marineford and the moment he begged for the slaughter to stop. Tashigi, who can't unsee enslaved kids and erased islands. These are the officers who quietly start routing intel, ships, and even recruits toward Luffy. They call it reformist justice, but you see, it's really freedom with a badge. And third, the Chaos faction, Yonko and pirates who smell opportunity. Blackbeard, of course, out wants to eat the world while the other two sides are busy. Law plays the long game, swapping alliances like cards. Kid, the worst generation, and even kingdoms like Dressrosa and Fishman Island watch the cracks in the marine wall and think, if we move now, can we finally breathe? Here's the kicker. Luffy is the only one who can walk between all three. To Marines, he's still Vice Admiral Monkey D. Luffy, Garp's grandson, the hero of a dozen classified operations where he saved civilians the government wrote off. He can walk into a base, grin at the rookies, and say, "We're changing how this works," and they listen. To kingdoms, he's the liberator. The man who disobeyed orders to free Kokoyashi, who exposed the truth of Alabasta instead of letting Crocodile's cover story stand, who refused to burn Ohara-style libraries a second time. He doesn't just swing a fist. He leaves behind den recordings, testimonies, and witnesses. Information spreads. Fear cracks. And to pirates, he's the Marine who gets it. The guy who looks at law and says, "I know why you hate them," because he's seen Ini's lobby files and Ohara reports and Kuma's classified orders. He doesn't excuse piracy, but he understands hatred of oppression. That makes him a bridge and a nightmare. Robin is the one who connects it all. Her research inside this altered marine system uncovers whispers that, in the Void Century, a great kingdom did exactly this. United Marines-like forces, free islands, and pirate crews against the proto-world government, and was erased. When she lays that parallel out to Luffy, to Smoker, to a disillusioned Hancock who's sick of being a government dog, something clicks. You realize you're watching history try to repeat itself, but with the whole world now wired through news feeds, transponder snails, and Sabo's revolutionary broadcasts. The cover-ups don't stick. The lies don't land. Every Buster Call live-streamed, every Ohara repeated, just feeds the fire. So alliances start forming in the shadows. Kobe leaks deployment orders. Smoker loses a battleship near Law's submarine. Hancock shelters defectors on Amazon Lily. Kingdoms that Luffy saved begin quietly declaring, "We answer to the Marines, not the world government." And suddenly, Marineford isn't the end of an era, it's the trailer. The world is too informed, too connected, too angry for the old order to survive. Whether he wants the title or not, Marine Luffy becomes the face of the coming storm. And the only question left is, when that storm finally hits, does he stand at the head of a fleet, or on trial before the entire world. Marine Luffy versus the Celestial Dragons. The unthinkable act. And that storm hits sooner than anyone expects. Because it doesn't start with a Yonko. It doesn't start with a buster call. It starts with one punch. Picture this. Maria Joie, the Holy Land. Red carpets, golden gates, air so thick with arrogance it's hard to breathe. Celestial dragons riding slaves like animals, chains clinking on the hallowed tiles. A collar explodes on some poor soul who hesitated for half a second. A mother screams, a child reaches out, and a Marine officer squad is right there, ordered to look away. Stand down, respect the hierarchy. In the original timeline, we saw this flavor of hell at Sabaody. See, with Luffy as a pirate who didn't care about consequences, but in this timeline, he's a decorated Marine, the hero of Marineford, the symbol the brass is trying to sell as the future of justice. You see CP0 masks watching from the shadows. You see vice admirals gritting their teeth. No one moves. Then a celestial dragon gets bored. He raises a pistol and in front of everyone shoots a kneeling civilian who dared to beg for their family's freedom. No grand crime, no trial, just a bored god cleaning his shoe. That's the moment everything Marineford built inside Luffy snaps. He remembers O'Hara's flames. He remembers Robin crying on that bridge at Eni's lobby. He remembers Ace bleeding out on the Marineford scaffold while the world cheered for justice. And now these same gods are using that word as a shield. Luffy's fist curls, and you can almost hear drum beats again. But what if this time, the drums don't announce Joy Boy to the pirates, but judgment to the world government itself? He steps forward. Sengoku's warnings, Garp's lectures, Sakazuki's threats, all of it flashes through his mind. A good Marine obeys. A good Marine endures. A good Marine protects the Celestial Dragons. Shut up, Luffy says to the entire system. Then he does the unthinkable. He punches the Celestial Dragon. Full force, no restraint. Holy blood and broken mask fly across the pristine tiles. The sound echoes through Maria Joie like a cannon. Everyone freezes. For half a heartbeat, the world forgets how to breathe. Then it explodes. CP0, eliminate him. Masked assassins blitz in. Rokushiki, haki, finger guns like bullets. Some Marines instantly throw themselves in front of the downed dragon. Others point rifles at Luffy on reflex, hands shaking, justice coats fluttering. And then you have the wild cards. Kobe, Helmeppo, a few officers who saw O'Hara's files, who heard what really happened at Eni's lobby. They move. Not against Luffy. Against CP0. Suddenly, the Holy Land turns into a war zone. Gear 4 or even early Gear 5 flashes as Luffy fends off assassins, not pirates. Haki clashes with life return. White tiles crack. Saintly palaces crumble. Allies who believed in Luffy's freedom justice rush to extract him, dragging stunned civilians and broken chains with them. Here's the kicker. It almost doesn't matter if Luffy escapes or is captured. The damage is already done. Because if a Marine can hit a Celestial Dragon and live for even a single minute, then the myth of their untouchability is shattered. News leaks, rumors spread, revolutionary sparks hit Marine gunpowder. And now the final war doesn't feel like a distant prophecy. It feels inevitable. The only question is, after striking a god, does Luffy come back as a condemned traitor or the first Marine of a brand new era? Endgame showdown, Luffy versus Akainu, justice versus justice. And once Luffy hits a Celestial Dragon, you can't walk that back. The world has seen it. The question now is, how far does this Marine go when the next god standing in front of him is his own Fleet Admiral? Let's dive into the endgame of this timeline. The battlefield? Not Marineford. That symbol's already broken. We're in the ruins of Maria Joie after a revolutionary raid and a failed buster call on the Holy Land itself. The red line is cracked. The Pangaea Castle is half collapsed and burning. And on a jagged platform of shattered stone and molten rubble, Luffy and Akainu face each other while transponder snails broadcast every second to the entire world. In the original timeline, Akainu was the unstoppable fist of absolute justice at Marineford. But in this timeline, he's the cornered god of a dying era, magma cloak boiling, barking into the Den Mushi that Luffy is a traitor who turned the Marines into a circus. "You've weakened everything," Sakazuki snarls. "Your so-called freedom has pirates and peasants thinking they can challenge heaven." Luffy just cracks his neck, coat burning at the edges, haki crackling like black lightning. "You're the one who's weak," he fires back. "You murdered Ohara. You killed Ace. You call it justice so everyone stays scared. But what if nobody's scared of you anymore? Instantly, you feel the air change. Every Marine, every pirate, every villager watching holds their breath. Then they clash. No countdown, no speeches, just impact. Sakazuki's fist becomes a volcanic sun, magma spraying like a buster call in a single punch. Luffy meets it with advanced Conqueror's haki and a refined, marine-trained Gear 5 hybrid form. Rubber muscles coiling, white steam twisting into that now infamous grin. Every blow is ideology turned into physics. Magma that erases everything it touches versus a body that refuses to be erased. He gets burned. Bad. Even with future sight and iron body training from Garp's brutal regimen, Luffy takes hits that would have ended him at Marineford. A chunk of his side sears away. The smell of burnt flesh hits the Den Mushi. Akainu roars. "Mine, this is the price of your mercy!" Luffy staggers, and that's when Inherited will hit like a montage. For a heartbeat, his stance is Garp's, fists up, unyielding against the world. Then Roger's grin flashes over his face as the crowd gasps. Ace's silhouette overlaps his as he cocks back a flaming, haki-laced punch. Years of marine training letting him imitate his brother's fire with friction and raw power. Saul's laughter echoes as the ruins of Ohara flicker over the rubble of Marie-Joie. You even see the Ohara scholars in a Den Mushi cut, tears in their eyes as Luffy screams, "People who risk everything to protect others aren't criminals." Here's the kicker. Every time Akainu tries to frame this as order versus chaos, Luffy drags it back to conscience versus fear. "You're not justice," he shouts between blows. "You're just the world government's attack dog." Magma meets rubber one last time in a blinding clash that shakes the red line, and the feed cuts to static. Did Luffy kill him? Did he spare him? Did the Gorosei intervene? The only thing we know is that absolute justice, live on air, just lost its halo, and the world isn't going back to how it was. So when the smoke clears, who moves first? The pirates who smell blood, or the Marines who suddenly have to choose a side? A new Marine era. Can the system be reformed? So when that halo of absolute justice shatters on live broadcast, the world holds its breath. Is this the fall of the Marines, or the start of something way scarier? There are two paths this timeline could take. One, the Marines collapse completely, by splintering into 100 private navies while pirates and warlords carve the seas apart. Total chaos. Two, the uniform survives, but the system wearing it is unrecognizable. No celestial dragon leash, no warlord safety net, and a charter that finally says, protect people first, nobles second. But what if we follow the second road, the one where Luffy breaks the cage without burning the whole thing down? In the original timeline, Luffy never cared about legal systems. He just punched whoever hurt his friends. In this timeline, everyone has watched him punch the world government itself on camera. So when the dust settles, the question isn't who's fleet admiral, it's whose justice do we trust now? Sengoku's retired. Sakazuki's legitimacy is gone. The Gorosei are hiding, and all eyes drift to the man who just toppled a god. Here's the kicker. Luffy refuses. He won't be fleet admiral, he won't be a symbol sitting behind a desk, he won't trade one throne for another. He literally throws the coat over his shoulder and says, "I'm not good at that stuff." Instead, he points at Kobe, at Smoker, at people who bled to protect civilians even when orders said otherwise. "You guys decide," he tells them, "just don't be jerks." So how do they rebuild? Let's dive into the new doctrine that comes out of this war. It isn't written in some holy chamber in Marie-Joie. It's drafted on battered tables in a half-destroyed marine base. with former rebels and scholars arguing until sunrise. You see Robin there, calmly shredding every secret clause that used to hide Buster Calls and cover-ups. You see revolutionaries and liberated kings demanding one thing: transparency. But the new Marine Charter outright bans Buster Calls on civilian islands. No more O'Hara, no more Eni's lobby-style erasures. Every large-scale operation has to be logged, reviewed, and made public after the fact. Den Mushi feeds are archived. Whistleblowers are protected instead of silenced. Different justices are debated openly. Moral, freedom, responsibility, because everyone saw what absolute really meant. But this victory isn't clean. The final war leaves entire coastlines scarred, sea kings restless, and graveyards on every sea. Heroes like Garp, Kuzan, maybe even Ace in some branches, are gone or broken. There are orphans in this timeline who will grow up hating the new Marines just as much as the old ones, because their parents died in that last clash at the Red Line, and everyone knows corruption doesn't vanish. It waits. If people stop paying attention, if Kobe and Smoker get comfortable, those shadows will creep back in. So what does Luffy do, now that justice has his face stamped on it whether he wants it or not? He walks away. We see him at a quiet marine base at dawn, coat slung over his shoulder, the seagull emblem flapping in the wind one last time. No pirate flag, no marine cap. Just Luffy, grinning at the endless horizon. Free to chase adventure, not as a pirate or a soldier, but as himself. And as he steps off that pier, one question hangs over the world. With Luffy gone, who's going to protect this fragile new era when the next storm hits? Who becomes Pirate King when Luffy wears a coat? And as he steps off that pier, one question hangs over everything. If Luffy isn't racing for Laugh-Tale, who is? And because the title of Pirate King doesn't just vanish, the throne is empty. And in this timeline, the monsters of the New World can smell that vacancy like blood in the water. In the original timeline, Luffy's rise acts like a gravitational pull. He drags allies, rivals, and even the Yonko into his orbit, constantly interrupting everyone else's plans. But what if that pull is gone? No Straw Hat Fleet? No Fifth Emperor hype? Suddenly, three names start to stand out above the chaos: Blackbeard, Eustace Kid, and Trafalgar Law. Ambition, raw destruction, quiet rebellion. Three different answers to the question Roger left behind. Let's dive into Blackbeard first, because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the guy whose blueprint already looks like a Pirate King speedrun. In this timeline, nothing stops him from executing that plan even cleaner. He still hunts the Yami Yami no Mi. He still betrays Whitebeard. He still uses the Shichibukai system as a stepping stone. Only this time, there's no Luffy crashing Impel down. No Straw Hat chaos at Marineford stealing the spotlight and bodies from him. You see, with Marine Luffy helping dismantle the Warlord system from the inside, Blackbeard gets exactly what he wants: a shattered balance. He can swoop in on ex-Warlord territories, devour more devil fruits, and weaponize the fear that spreads when the old stability is gone. His plan to seize multiple devil fruits, manipulate Yonko politics, and openly challenge the world government doesn't just resemble a Pirate King route, it's the most brutally efficient version of it. But here's the kicker. Without Luffy's optimism shaping the age, the Will of D energy doesn't disappear. It mutates. That's where Law steps in as a terrifyingly compelling alternative. In the original timeline, Law's alliance with Luffy drags him toward a more hopeful, comedic, Straw Hat-flavored revolution. In this timeline, he has no rubber idiot forcing him to smile. Just a surgeon of death, a D, and a lifelong vendetta against the Celestial Dragons. What happens when that guy reaches the New World with no Luffy to steal the spotlight from Doflamingo, Punk Hazard, or Wano Tier conspiracies? He still dismantles trafficking routes. He still targets the heart of the system. Only now, the legend that grows isn't of a laughing sun god. It's of a cold, calculating pirate kingpin who cuts out the rot of the world, island by island. Pirate King as strategist, not savior. Meanwhile, Marine Luffy is accidentally feeding both of their legends, as every time he exposes a world government cover-up, every time he tears down a corrupt warlord, he creates power vacuums pirates rush to fill. He saves civilians and hands pirates fresh hunting grounds. So in this timeline, the roles split. Pirate King becomes the ruler of the seas, Blackbeard's Chaos or Law's Rebellion, while World Liberator belongs to a marine-turned rebel who wears no flag at all. And that split sets up the final question. When those two paths finally collide, whose freedom wins? Straw Hats. Reimagined, where do they all end up? But what if that clash of freedom doesn't happen with a pirate crew behind Luffy, but with something way looser, way stranger? Because in this timeline, the Straw Hat flag never goes up, yet everyone who should have been on that ship still gets pulled into his orbit. Let's dive into Zoro first. In the original timeline, Luffy frees him from that marine base and instantly recruits him. In this timeline, that rescue never happens, so Zoro breaks himself out. He becomes a name on wanted posters not as a pirate, but as a legendary bounty hunter, hunting down East Blue monsters like Kuro and Don Krieg for cash and challenge. Here's the kicker. He keeps clashing with marine units and keeps hearing about one insane rubber recruit who keeps defying corrupt officers. When Luffy disobeys orders at Arlong Park and liberates Kokoyashi, Zoro is there by coincidence, blades drawn, acting freelance but fighting on the same side. Over time, he's that terrifying, independent contractor swordsman the reformed Marines call in when things get too wild, still chasing Mihawk, and still swearing to never kneel to a flag, but always showing up when Luffy's justice is on the line. Nami's fate changes instantly once Marine Luffy tears Arlong's empire down under the banner of justice instead of piracy. No bounty, no fugitive life. You see, with Kokoyashi freed by a Marine who actually listens, Nami doesn't have to run. She's offered a position as a navigation specialist, then as a world cartographer under a new, more ethical marine science division that wants real sea charts instead of censored ones. In the original timeline, she's drawing maps between raids and buster calls. In this timeline, she's sailing on official survey ships, arguing with higher-ups about why entire islands disappear from government records, using that pen to quietly expose the very lies the world government is built on. Sanji stays at Baratie longer, clinging to Zeph and the dream of all blue. But what if the Marine who saves the restaurant from a desperate pirate siege isn't some random officer? It's Luffy. Instead of, be my cook, it's, feed my squad and help me feed everyone. Sanji joins a Marine-adjacent humanitarian unit, technically under Luffy's command but constantly bending rules, using marine supply lines to drop food on famine-struck islands the government wrote off. He still kicks Celestial Dragon lackeys' faces in at every chance. The only difference is, he files the worst mission reports in marine history. And the others? Usopp never boards a pirate ship, but he becomes the traveling storyteller of Luffy's legend, moving from port to port, mixing lies and truth about the crazy Marine who punched a Tenryubito. Chopper is scouted straight into the Marine Medical Corps, turning warships into floating clinics that treat civilians first, soldiers second. Frankie is bribed into designing a new fleet that runs cleaner, faster, and harder to abuse for buster calls, sneaking in safety flaws against oppression. Brook and Jinbei end up as pirate ambassadors, bridge figures negotiating amnesty deals, ceasefires, and joint operations, proving that not every Jolly Roger is the enemy. So even without a straw hat, look at what forms. A global, scattered crew, united not by piracy, but by Luffy's gravity and their shared hatred of injustice. And that raises the next question. When this unofficial fleet finally turns its sights on the Holy Land itself, is it still marine justice? Or the birth of something entirely new? Was Marine Luffy inevitable? Garp, fate, and the will of D. So when that fleet of renegade officers and liberated islands finally stares up at the red line, You have to ask, was this always where Marine Luffy was heading? Because remember, in the original timeline, Garp drags Luffy and Ace through brutal training because he wants one thing: a Marine hero to stand against the age of pirates. He's not joking, he's dead serious. And in this timeline, ladies and gentlemen, he technically gets it. Luffy wears the coat. He salutes. He becomes the symbol Garp begged for. But what if the hero Garp created isn't the weapon the world government wanted, but the fuse that blows their whole system apart? Let's dive into Garp first. Garp dreamed of a Marine who had Roger's courage without Roger's crime. A shining example of justice. But Garp also knows the truth about celestial dragons, about God Valley, about how justice bends. So every time Marine Luffy breaks orders to save a village, every time he punches a noble and Garp just laughs, instead of stopping him, you see the clash. Garp's wish comes true, but twisted. He raised not a loyal soldier, but a D in a uniform. And that's the real constant here, the will of D. In any timeline, that initial always means one thing: someone who laughs in the face of the so-called gods and drags the world into an era of upheaval. Slap a straw hat on him, he challenges the Yonko. Slap a marine coat on him, he challenges the admirals. Different logos, same storm. Was there ever a version of Luffy that doesn't rebel against oppression? Or was rebellion baked into his name from the start? Here's the kicker: Shanks still matters, even when he loses. In the original timeline, that Straw Hat promise locks Luffy onto the Pirate King route. In this timeline, no hat, no promise. But Shanks is still out there. Marines whisper about the red-haired Yonko who stopped Kaido, who walked into Marineford and ended a war with a sentence. Young officers like Kobe idolize that kind of presence. Stories about Shanks reach Luffy through wanted posters, battle reports, even clashes between Shanks' commanders and Luffy's unit. So instead of "I'll surpass you as Pirate King," it becomes, if a pirate can stop a war, what does true justice actually look like? And that's where fate versus choice really explodes. One decision, no straw hat, Garp wins the custody battle, instantly reroutes the entire story. Ace's path, the Yonko balance, Marineford itself, all changed. Yet at every crossroads, Luffy still refuses to bow. He still sides with slaves over nobles, with islands over orders, with freedom over fear. The coat changes. The core doesn't. So this what if doesn't erase Luffy's essence. It refracts it. It shows how fragile this world really is, how one boy's uniform can redraw the map, but his will of D keeps dragging him toward the same final enemy. And if that's true, then when Marine Luffy finally points his justice at the celestial dragons themselves, what happens to the Marines standing behind him? Rapid-fire what-ifs. Mini timelines inside the Marine Luffyverse. So let's stress test that, ladies and gentlemen. Onto if Marine Luffy is destined to turn his justice upward, what happens when we twist the knife on the way there? Let's dive into a rapid-fire gauntlet of mini timelines that all branch off this Marine Luffy-verse. First branch, Marineford, but Luffy stays loyal. In the original timeline, he throws everything away to save Ace. But what if he doesn't jump? What if he freezes on that scaffold, saluting the flag instead of shattering it? Ace dies in front of him, executed under the symbol Luffy swore to protect. The world hails him as a model Marine. Inside, something breaks. Not loudly. Quietly. You see a Luffy who laughs less, trains harder, and hunts pirates with a cold, surgical fury, trying to drown out those last screams. Here's the kicker. His freedom justice doesn't vanish. It mutates. Years later, just when he finally learns about Ohara, about the celestial dragons, about who ordered Ace's death, that bottled-up guilt detonates. This Luffy doesn't just rebel. He deserts with experience, rank, and a loyal faction of Marines who followed the hero of Marineford, straight into open war with the world government. Second branch. What if Ace never stood on the opposite side of that war at all? What if he became a Marine alongside Luffy from the start? Garp wins. The brothers grow up in the system. Ace with a justice coat over the flame fruit. Luffy with his rubber body and ridiculous charisma, tearing through ranks like Kobe on Turbo. In this timeline, every mission becomes a recruitment drive. Smoker, Kobe, Helmeppo, even Kuzan start orbiting their wild interpretation of justice. But what if their light burns too bright? Should two D brothers inside the Marines, openly defying Akainu's absolute justice, shielding civilians, letting good pirates go? They either accelerate reform or they get crushed together in a staged accident that turns them into martyrs the revolutionaries cannot ignore. Third branch, strip away the scholar. What if Luffy never meets Robin? No Ohara, no poneglyphs, no Buster Call trauma laid bare. He becomes the world government's perfect storm, a living weapon of freedom who doesn't know who's really in chains. He still punches celestial dragons on instinct, but every time Sengoku or Agorase says, "That island was evil," he believes it. Imagine Enia's lobby with Marine Luffy leading the Buster Call, smiling, thinking he's saving the world, while the books that could free it burn behind him. Our fourth branch, swap the casualty at Marineford. In the original timeline, Whitebeard dies and Akainu lives to become Fleet Admiral. But what if Akainu is the one who falls instead? Whitebeard's final quake crushes him. Absolute justice dies on the battlefield. Sengoku steps down. Suddenly the top seat is between Kuzan and Kizaru, with Garp and our Marine Luffy as wild cards. The Marines lean softer, more flexible, more human. Sounds peaceful, right? Pattern interrupt. That softer Marine era lets pirates explode across the new world. Blackbeard rises faster. The Gorosei panic sooner. And Marine Luffy, in a structure that can finally bend, has to decide. Reform it from within, or weaponize it against the very gods who own it. And that's the real question for this whole Marine Luffy multiverse. Which tiny choice turns him from their brightest shield into the blade at their throat? From cold open to final war, stitching the journey together. So let's stitch this whole thing back together. We opened on Marineford, same execution platform, same roaring ocean of Marines and pirates. But this time, Luffy wasn't crashing the party in a tattered vest. He was walking in, wearing a Marine coat, the emblem of justice on his back instead of a straw hat on his head. In the original timeline, that battlefield tried to break him. In this timeline, it tried to claim him. And yet, look at where we ended up. We watched Garp actually win, at least at the start. Luffy trained under the fist of the Navy's hero, learned Rokushiki, learned discipline. Art learned how to shout justice without flinching. On paper, that should have bent him, but what if the real twist was that structure just sharpened what was already there? You see, from the first missions in East Blue, that's exactly what happened. Arlong wasn't just a pirate problem anymore. He was a test case. Orders said, observe, report, don't engage. Luffy saw Nami's village in chains and instantly broke rank. That was Rebellion number 1. Then Alabasta turned into Rebellion number 2. In the original timeline, he toppled Crocodile as a pirate. In this timeline, he toppled a warlord while still wearing marine white, exposing a government-backed tyrant and making everyone from Smoker to Kobe question what justice actually meant. Eni's lobby was the point of no return. The flag punch still came. But this time, Luffy was punching his own side's symbol, screaming that any justice built on Ohara's ashes was fake. That single moment connected everything. Robin's trauma, the Buster Call, the lies Sengoku had to defend, the quiet doubts Kuzan tried to bury. The world government called it treason. The people watching called it hope. Then Marineford came back around, like destiny refusing to let go. Only now, Luffy was the insider they couldn't control. He saved Ace not as a condemned pirate, but as a condemned criminal of the system, dragging his brother out from under the same institution he served. Here's the kicker. The real betrayal wasn't Luffy turning on the Marines. It was the Marines, through Akainu, showing they would burn any family, any island, any era, to keep their version of order. That's why the final clash with Akainu hit so hard. Not just magma versus fists, but absolute justice versus this wild, impossible thing we've been tracking the whole time. Freedom justice. And through it all, the emotional spine never changed. Saving Ace, freeing kingdoms, confronting O'Hara's truth, inspiring Kobe, Smoker, even nameless recruits to think for themselves and ask, who is justice really protecting? Because that's the through line. No matter the badge, no matter the flag, Luffy refuses to accept oppression. Pirate Jolly Roger, Marine Seagull, World Government Emblem. It doesn't matter. If it crushes people's freedom, he punches it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just one branch. One long-form Marine Luffy timeline out of infinite what-ifs. So as we head into the close, keep your own headcanons ready. Let's dive into the next possibility, where this choice at Marineford isn't the end of the question, but the beginning of a whole new war. Would you follow Marine Luffy's justice? So now that we've watched this whole Marine Luffy timeline spiral out from Marineford, it's your turn to answer the real question. Whose justice would you actually follow? The kid with the straw hat chasing pure freedom on the sea? Or the wild card in a marine coat punching the World Government Emblem while still technically saluting it? In the original timeline, Luffy screams that he'll be king of the pirates, and you instantly know what side he's on. But what if, in this timeline, he shouts "Justice!" before launching that same gum-gum punch at the Celestial Dragon system? Now, which version of Luffy feels more honest to you? The outlaw who rejects the system completely? Or the marine who stays inside the monster just long enough to stab it in the heart from the command deck? Think back over everything we've changed. Which moment hit you the hardest emotionally? Was it Arlong's defeat under a marine flag, where Luffy tears off the coat but still wears the seagull symbol on his back as he frees Nami's village? Was it Enies Lobby in this timeline, where he doesn't just punch the World Government flag as a pirate, he does it as a serving officer in front of every Den Mushi on the Grand Line? Or was it Marineford, ladies and gentlemen, when he betrays his own headquarters to save Ace, turning the battlefield into a civil war inside justice itself? Here's the kicker. Let's talk about Ace. E, do you think Ace should have lived in this branch, rescued by a marine little brother who breaks ranks and drags him out of hell? Or do you think Ace's death, right in front of a uniformed Luffy, would have pushed this marine even further, transforming freedom justice into open revolution against Sakazuki, the Gorosei, and everything the seagull stands for? Which version of that tragedy feels more powerful to you? And why? Now zoom out from One Piece and look at our world for a second. You see, this isn't just a fun timeline game. It's a question of systems versus individuals. Is it better to be like Pirate Luffy, throwing away the law to follow your own morality? Or like Marine Luffy, trying to bend a corrupt institution towards something better, knowing it might break you first? How much can one person actually change when the O'Hara incident level cover-ups are baked into the foundation of the organization they serve? So as we head into the final stretch, treat the comment section like the after-action report for this whole hypothetical war. Drop your verdict. Freedom Luffy or Marine Justice Luffy? Arlong, Enies Lobby, or Marineford? What shook you the most? Ace lives or Ace dies? What if you were the one writing this story? Because the next part of this video is where we take your answers and push this Marine Luffy justice all the way to the end game. Your turn. Build the next Marine Luffy arc. So now it's your turn to put on the coat, ladies and gentlemen. No, we've taken Marine Luffy all the way from Garp's fists to clashing with pirates on the Grand Line. But what if you were the one charting the next operation? Which arc do we fully rewrite in this timeline, front to back? Like a full Marine campaign? Do you want East Blue redone with Luffy as a rookie Marine cleaning house, actually arresting Arlong, Kuro, and Don Krieg instead of just decking them? Or do we jump straight to Alabasta, where in the original timeline he protects Vivi as a pirate, but in this timeline he's under direct orders from the world government, torn between protect a kingdom and preserve a weapon? Maybe you want Enies Lobby where he storms the judicial island not to break Robin out, but to expose O'Hara's truth from inside the system. Or do we go wild and send Marine Luffy into a rewritten Marineford? and standing on the execution platform instead of charging it? Tell us in the comments right now. East Blue, Alabasta, Enies Lobby, Marineford, or a brand new Yonko Saga you want built from scratch? Here's the kicker. We're not just asking for titles. We want you to script this war. You see, the best comments are going to be the ones that feel like real episodes. What specific scene do you want to see? Luffy defying a buster call to save Kokoyasi village and risking court-martial. A three-way clash between Marine Luffy, Pirate Zoro, and Warlord Mihawk on Barati's deck. Robin surviving Ohara and meeting Luffy as a Cypher Paul target instead of an ally. Who lives? Who dies? Who defects? Who gets that one panel that makes everyone scream? And because this is Marine Luffy, he needs his own justice. Kobe has his. Akainu has absolute justice. Aokiji had his lazy justice. But what if Luffy walked into Marineford with a coat that said something completely different? Freedom justice? Straw Hat justice? Liberation justice? Drop your custom justice phrase for Marine Luffy in the comments, and we'll compile the craziest, most hype slogans into a full follow-up video, reading them out and building mini timelines around the best ones. If you want this to become a full Marine Luffy series, this is where you actually change the story. Like the video, hit subscribe, and share it with that one friend who argues about headcanon in every power-scaling thread. Engagement isn't just numbers here. It literally decides which timeline we expand into full arcs, full fights, full animated-style breakdowns, and while you're typing, think ahead. After Marine Luffy, who's next? And do we run What If Ace Became a Marine instead? And put the Flame Emperor in a blue coat hunting Blackbeard from inside the system? Or what if Garp accepted the Fleet Admiral position and watched the entire concept of justice get flipped overnight? Let's dive into those if you want them. Your comments are the orders. We're just executing. Closing frame, the Marine coat and the Straw Hat. So let's end this right where all these timelines secretly point. One quiet shore, long after the last war, when the shouting is over and only the waves are talking. In the original timeline, we picture Luffy on a hill, straw hat on his head, coat on his shoulders, smiling toward the horizon as Pirate King. But in this timeline, ladies and gentlemen, you see something different. The beach is empty. The sky is bruised orange. And Luffy walks alone, a battered white marine coat dragging behind him. Justice on the back, torn and burned by 100 battles. He doesn't wear it. He doesn't wear the hat either. He just reaches a driftwood post sticking up from the sand and, without a word, hangs the worn marine coat on it. The sleeves sway in the sea breeze like a flag that's forgotten what side it was on. Then he takes Shanks's straw hat, the same symbol that once screamed pirate freedom to the whole world, and gently sets it on top of the coat. Suddenly, those two icons we've spent the whole story separating are stacked on the same pole. Coat, hat, marine, pirate, justice and freedom sharing the same silhouette against the sunset. Here's the kicker. Nothing about the cloth changed. The meaning changed because of the man who wore them. A coat can hide a tyrant or a hero. A flag can signal oppression or liberation. In the original timeline, that straw hat terrified the world government. In this timeline, that same hat sat on the head of the strongest Marine they ever produced, the one who turned buster calls into rescues and Sabaody raids into liberations. What if the real drums of liberation weren't about pirate or Marine at all, but about whoever refuses to bow to oppression, no matter what uniform they're stuck with? That's why this Marine Luffy what if doesn't erase Oda's story. It actually proves how strong it is. You flip Marineford, you flip Garp, you flip the coat and the hat, and the core still survives. Luffy still hates chains. He still punches gods. He still defends friends. The label changed. The trajectory changed. The system he fought from changed. But that heartbeat stayed the same. So here's the question that only you can answer. When you picture Luffy at the very end, in your heart, is he wearing a straw hat, a marine coat, or neither? Is he something beyond those symbols entirely? Just a man laughing at the sea with nothing on his back but scars? As the camera pulls away from that lonely shore, we fade out on the sound of waves and distant drums. Not the drums of a pirate fleet, but the echo of those same drums of liberation, now rumbling through a world where freedom erupted from inside the system instead of outside it. And if that can happen to Luffy, who else in this story isn't as locked into their fate as we think?